Good evening and welcome to the Board of Commissioners regular workshop meeting. Today is Wednesday, May the 28th, 2025, and it is 6:01 p.m. City Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Brooks,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kerr,
Here.
Commissioner Taglerini,
Here.
Commissioner McGinn,
Here.
Commissioner Gavayi.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. With no public in attendance for comment, we will move right to the City Attorney, Resolution 2025-04, Adopting Ceremonial Items Policy.
Thank you, Mayor. In your agenda packet is a draft resolution 2025-04, which adopts the ceremonial items policy that is attached to it. I tried to use the base form or the form that I gave you for the City of Oldsmar in its ceremonial items policy and tweaked it based upon the direction I was given at the prior commission meetings. I think it accomplishes what you were looking to accomplish. Obviously, there are awards and other items that are on the ceremonial items policy that you have not given in the past. If you want to delete them, obviously that's fine. But I was just trying to keep it in line with the draft that I had given you a month or so ago. Some of the language on the key to the city was different than the language that I used in the Oldsmar one. I tried to address specifically how that key to the city is basically the highest honor that you can give, the highest ceremonial item that you could give in the city. And so I tried to make it in sync with that thought process, that it would be not given out to every person that did something nice to the city, but those people that have done or gone above and beyond. So I'd be happy to talk to you about the policy if you have any questions or thoughts, but I think it meets with the direction I was given.
Commission, any comments?
I would just like to maybe see a picture and how that key will be constructed. You know, will it be like stuck on a, some sort of a, I don't know what the word is, but plaque? I mean, will it be like a plaque?
So I can show you a picture of the one that I received. I received the key to the city for the city of Safety Harbor a couple of years ago. It was a key on a plaque. I don't know if that would be helpful to you. I'll try to find it while you're discussing, and then we can pass it down. But there are some cities that actually give out just a metal key, and it's 6 to 8 inches long, depending upon who you get it manufactured by. But some of them are like metal, not necessarily brass, but brass colored. If you do it on a plaque, then the information that you wanted to convey during that proceeding, can be listed on the plaque as to the reasons why that person received the key to the city. And again, I'll pull that picture up so that you can look at it while you're discussing, see if I can find it real quick.
Comments?
I'm not able to pull up my agenda now, but I did look at this yesterday. I liked all the separate categories. I liked different options for different things. I wouldn't, personally, I don't need to get rid of any of them. I liked the different levels of recognition. And I like a key on a plaque, too.
In my opinion, the key or any other recognition is not just about those people that perform well and make us look proud. It's also about us to recognizing wonderful people that serve our community. I've seen plaques in Tallahassee that have been placed by some senators and some state representatives that were given to them by a variety of cities. So when I go to their offices and I look at the plaques, And it just makes me proud that certain cities have recognized an individual like that. So it kind of gives it gives recognition to public that also go to Tallahassee and visit them. You know, if the name Madeira Beach is up there, then that will make us all proud.
Definitely. I also agree with the levels of recognition, especially, well, since we're talking about the key to the city, it reads that the mayor and/or members of the Board of Commissioners may nominate a distinguished individual to receive the key to the city. Does that also include groups? Would that also include?
I'm sorry, did it also include?
Well, it just states distinguished individual. I'm talking about groups could also receive the key to the city, correct?
There's nothing that would prevent you from doing that.
Right.
You know, every person in a 5-member group will receive the key to the city. I've never seen that happen, but obviously it's your key. You decide what you want to do with it. So
Right.
I did find that photograph if you wanted to see that.
My only comment is, if you're going to give a key to the city, it should definitely be on a plaque,
I like that.
because,
Thanks.
yes. The whole point is to be able to have it displayed, and if it's not on a plaque, it won't be displayed.
Yes, that's nice.
Now,
So-
I did have a question on the city coin, just quickly,
Amazing.
about each of the Board of Commissioners and the mayor will be provided with 3 coins to present. I would imagine that is annually, since we have elections each year. And of course, that would just be a coin, it wouldn't be on a plaque or anything. I don't know if I could give out 3 coins every year.
So you're questioning the regularity of it. I guess I was assuming we would do it as needed,
Yeah.
not on a regular basis. Is that,
That is how I interpreted it,
Right.
that you would get, my interpretation was up to 3 keys that you would get to give out.
Oh,
And if you didn't, you didn't. If you did,
Okay.
you did.
all right.
I think it looks great, Attorney Trask. And to the conversation of the key itself, I think that once this has passed and it's adopted, then determining a key and how it would be manufactured, and as well as the coin, I think that's a separate discussion. And maybe we can come back at the next workshop with ideas, if you have them, of something that you've seen or you like what was provided to us tonight, and then we can just decide on something. And I think that's a lot easier decision to make and a quicker process. Anything further?
Nope.
So we have no public comment. Next on the agenda is the city manager performance and evaluation.
And Mayor and Commission, just to begin, as you may recall from last year, when you amended my employment agreement, there was a section stipulating that in May of each year, that the Board of Commissioners shall conduct a performance evaluation of the manager during an agenda item posted at a noticed public meeting. So how you would like is really up your discretion. I did provide each of you the similar form from prior years that as a suggestion to utilize in doing that, but really leave it up to how you would like to proceed.
Does anyone have any comments?
Yeah, I do. I was just looking, in the original contract, we also had Section 9, performance evaluation. So I'm sure that this is a carryover from the original contract. And I don't know that we've ever done an evaluation in a public forum. I mean, we can. But I don't know that that was the intent of the contract. I think it was just pulled over into the addendum.
I'd prefer to do it one-on-one like we have the last 3 years, and maybe make our, I don't know if this would be appropriate, make our evaluations public record, so people could see how we evaluate. So people will still have access to the information that they would have gotten. But I just think it would be more productive, an evaluation, if we did it face-to-face during our regular meeting, one-on-one meeting.
Yeah, I also agree with Commissioner Tagliarini as far as the performance evaluation, like I did mine, we did it last year, and I also like the one-on-one. And that necessarily have to be in a held public meeting.
I agree, one-on-one.
Well, I had my one-on-one with Robin this week, and we discussed it. And the conversation that I had with him was that it was going to be tonight in public, so I prepared mine. So I'm going to read it.
Sure.
I am respectfully submitting this evaluation in accordance with the city manager's contract and for inclusion in the public record. The commission was provided a template by the city manager to use for this evaluation. I have chosen to complete only the narrative portion, as I believe it allows for a more accurate and thoughtful reflection. This evaluation outlines both the challenges and expectations currently facing the city manager. While there have been notable strengths, particularly his personal dedication during emergencies and his positive rapport with staff, overall performance has been inconsistent. Key concerns include poor follow-through on commission directives, inadequate communication, and the need for a more professional and respectful workplace culture. Moving forward, it is essential that the manager improve accountability, strengthen communication, and demonstrate fairness and professionalism in all public interactions. With deliberate focus and leadership, there is opportunity for meaningful improvement and renewed alignment with the city's priorities. Question 1 was presented. What would you identify as the manager's strengths expressed in terms of the principal results achieved during the rating period? While overall performance has been inconsistent, the city manager has shown strong personal dedication, particularly during emergencies. After the hurricanes, he remained fully committed to city operations despite his own family being displaced, which demonstrated commendable resilience and work ethic. He also maintains a friendly and approachable demeanor with staff, knowing employees by name and generally being well-liked on a personal level. However, while he fosters individual relationships, stronger leadership is needed in setting the tone for a more respectful and professional workplace culture. His personal dedication is a strength that, if paired with higher standards for staff conduct, could lead to a more effective and unified team. Question 2, what performance area would you identify as most critical for improvement? The most critical areas for improvement are follow-through, communication, and consistency in public engagement. There have been repeated issues with poor follow-up on projects and tasks requested by the commission, which has caused frustration and delays. Communication with both the commission and staff also needs to be more timely, clear, and consistent to ensure alignment and accountability. Additionally, the city manager must work on treating all residents and business owners with fairness and respect, regardless of whether interactions are difficult or pleasant. Professionalism and kindness should be extended to everyone, even in challenging situations. Number 3, what constructive suggestions or assistance can you offer the manager to enhance performance? To enhance performance, I recommend the manager prioritize consistent follow-through on commission directives and project tasks with clear timelines and regular updates. Establishing a system for tracking action items and reporting progress would increase accountability and reduce delays. Improving communication with both the commission and staff is also essential. More transparent, timely, and two-way communication, especially on key issues, will help build trust and ensure alignment across leadership. Additionally, it's important that the manager set a higher standard for professionalism among staff. Addressing and discouraging negative or disrespectful talk in the workplace will help foster a more respectful and productive environment. Finally, I encourage the manager to approach all residents and business owners with kindness and impartiality, regardless of how challenging interactions may be. Consistently modeling respectful behavior will strengthen public confidence and reinforce the city's commitment to fair and inclusive service. Number 4, what other comments do you have for the manager? Example, priorities, expectations, goals, or objectives for the new rating period. Looking ahead, I expect the manager to place a stronger focus on accountability, responsiveness, and professionalism. Priorities for the new rating period should include improving follow-up on commission requests, increasing transparency and communication with both the commission and staff, and fostering a workplace culture grounded in respect and teamwork. It's also essential that the manager actively engages with all members of the public, residents and business owners alike, with patience, fairness, and professionalism. This includes handling difficult interactions with composure and empathy. Setting clear goals, regularly reporting progress, and maintaining open lines of communication will be critical to rebuilding trust and moving the city forward effectively. The manager has the capacity to lead well, but must take more deliberate steps to meet the expectations of this role and the community we serve. Any comments?
Mayor, I totally agree with you. I'm on the same page as you are. Madeira Beach is a wonderful city, and we are all accountable to our residents, and we're responsible for everything that happens here. So I'm on board with you.
Mayor, I'd still like to do my evaluation 101, but I did want to read, a resident wrote an evaluation because he saw that this was on the agenda, and I'd like to just read that now. I was looking on the agenda for tonight, and I see the city manager performance evaluation on it. Although I don't know if you seek input for residents, I do want to highlight, I feel Robin has done an excellent job of bringing stability to the city. We went through a lot of goofy stuff, from face licking and other mini scandals, where it constantly felt like Madeira Beach was the laughingstock of the beaches. Robin has been readily available and committed to his community. He navigated very difficult times with the 2 hurricanes. He has been at numerous public events and is approachable. So those are some of the things on item 6 of the evaluation that are resident facing. I can tell you I appreciate the leadership that Robin has provided, and I hope this letter of support will be taken into consideration during the evaluation process. Thank you, Robin, for a job well done. Bob Bello. I'd like to do my evaluation face-to-face, and I'll make my evaluation forms available.
Very well thought out.
I put a lot of thought into
Put
it.
a lot of time into it. Very good, very good. Generally, I'll just go over generally, and then I'm going to do, as Commissioner Taglerini will, and fill out something in writing, provide it to either Robin or Clara. Generally, I would say Madeira Beach is very fortunate that Robin came to work here. His dedication, especially throughout the storm, he was always accessible. I don't know, he lived it. And you can't give enough accolades for that and for everything, all the support that he was able to give to the city and direction and the staff holding up behind him. That respect doesn't come easy. So there's a lot of great there. Now, are we all perfect? Of course not. We've had our criticisms of the relationship with Cheney. There's been, I'm sure, other criticisms. We all have our strengths, and we all miss some things. Not making the decision, or making the decision to do the pilings out at the beach without first thinking that we needed to bring that and discuss that at the board. They're decisions. All decisions are not always the correct ones at the time. But he made that decision. So there's very few critical items that I can think of generally. I think the Madeira Beach is very blessed to have Robin, and he puts his best foot forward and is thoughtful and considerate, at least in what I've seen.
Anything further?
Yes, also, I will be meeting with the city manager one-on-one. We'll pick a date next week, whenever is convenient. I do want to say, Madam Mayor, thank you for your insight on the role and responsibilities of the city manager and the expectations that also go along with that position. I believe you care a lot for this city, as does our city manager, as does the commissioners and everyone sitting up here. I do believe constructive criticism is important for everyone involved in representing the people of Madeira Beach. And I will meet with you next week. Thank you.
I also will be meeting with Robin next week, and but the letter that you wrote, Mayor, was well thought out. The objective ideas that you brought up were extremely valid, and hopefully Robin takes your constructive criticism seriously, and that there are some, obviously, corrections that need to be done. Again, as I said, the city is amazing. The leadership is an important part of what the city is all about. And, Robin needs to make us all proud.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I feel very fortunate to sit as one of the 5. And we are in a city that is not adversely in the media. And I'm grateful for that.
And Mayor and Commissioner, well, thank you very much for the comments, and that's kind of the purpose and the role, and I do appreciate that, and certainly take all the comments, and very, very, very important and very clear, and certainly take those steps to correct and all the improvements that need to be made. So I will definitely begin to do that, obviously, but I look forward to individually meeting and going over, in more detail. And then, yes, whatever you do produce then does become public, and I have no issues or sharing or making anything available, but I do certainly appreciate the comments, the feedback, and we're here to do the right things and here to make this a great city to live, learn, work, and play, and it takes all 5 of you, myself, and certainly the other 80-plus staff here in the city to do that. So I appreciate that, and we'll continue to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. So, just for the record, we have no public for comment. Next on the agenda is John's Pass dredging update. City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. And we're in communication with Aptem, our consultant. We are approaching the end with the Army Corps. The Army Corps is awaiting essentially a couple of items that the Florida Department of Environmental Protection is reviewing and looking to approve. So they continue, Aptum continues to follow up, and hopefully that will come over the next 30 days. There is a weekly update, and that's included in the packet where we are at currently, or as of last Friday. They continue to follow up and check every week on the status. But as it states on, this would be about the third page of this agenda item in the packet. I'm sorry, I don't have the agenda, the actual packet page, but it's under item after mid-April, May 2025, number 2. That's where the Florida Department of Environmental Protection permit application complete, undergoing resource agency consultation. And as soon as they complete the work that they need to be done, the Army Corps will then finalize their review process, and hopefully permits will be forthcoming. We did receive last week the second amendment to the agreement between the city and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, extending the funding, the agreement, through December 31st of 2026. So we are through the end of next year. The goal is obviously to complete the dredging this year, or as soon as it can be completed, as soon as the permits are issued, and get that completed as soon as we can. Should be able to schedule a representative from Aptum to give a more detailed and some of the specifics at our June workshop on June the 25th. Happy to answer any questions,
Comments,
comments you have.
questions?
So we're not jeopardized
No.
losing or, okay.
Comments? Comments?
And the way I understand, they have based on all this and based on previous meetings, they have dates that they're reporting back to.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And Robin, just to clarify, from our meeting, you and I discussed, and I want to make sure that the public is aware that when DEP issues their permit, that's the last thing that the Army Corps is waiting on.
Yes,
To be able to then process their permit,
yes.
which I think is good news, and it's good for the community to understand because there's so much interest. And also that the grant has been extended through the end of 2026.
Yes.
So where there was the fear that if something were to happen and we didn't get to complete the dredging this year, we would lose the grant, we won't lose it. Although, as the city manager said, we want to finish it this year, but if something were to happen, weather-related or anything, we have some breathing room there, which I think is very good news for the city and for the dredging project. I just wanted to say that out loud to make sure everyone heard Robin's update loud and clear.
Thank you. Thank you.
So with no more comments, next on the agenda is Grant Works Agreement. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. We're just provided to you in the packet the existing agreements with the City of Bonita Springs and Pinellas County government that Grant Works, a grant writing agency, they've provided a brief presentation of our, including our state consultant or lobbyist, Shoemaker, actually put me in contact with them as a potential vendor. We are waiting to finalize a contract that then I will bring back to you for approval, but it will be essentially piggybacking off of these two agreements. And the reason there are two is the Bonita Springs is to do kind of an overall grant management. They'll be able to go out, research, and essentially work on any grant that we would like for them to work on. The Pinellas County one is specific to disaster recovery and emergency management. So in the future, if we need anything, or anything that may come up regarding any mitigation or anything that we could utilize, not in an emergency situation, that we're also constantly reviewing periodically, then we would be able to utilize those services for that. So we will hope to finalize an agreement over the next couple of weeks and then bring that back to you to present. And hopefully then obtain an approval and have them. The agreement will allow for a variety of different fee structures in terms of whether there's an actual dollar fee, because these do incorporate here's an hourly fee based on the person doing the work, as well as a administrative fee that is part of the grant that is being applied for, and upon award, then the cost of the work being performed by GrantWorks would be covered under the administrative portion of the grant. But each grant we will bring, my goal is to bring that back to you for approval, depending on where we are. Trying to move this along as quickly as we can, but that's where we currently are.
Do they offer any online services where you can look at what grants they've been able to get for other communities, types of grants, just to generally get an idea of what we might submit for? Because I'm sure I would think that we would have a list already prepared at some point. But there might be some things that we hadn't really thought about.
Yeah, I will get that from, but they did mention they do obviously have had multiple other grants. I just didn't include it in tonight, but
Yeah, no,
I will get
I'm-
that
I'm-
from them.
It'd be
Yep.
nice to be able to
Yes.
research it. I don't know if you need passwords or whatever, but I'm sure that's
Well-
part of the marketing piece.
And then we do have through the Florida League of Cities, and then through other just state and federal agencies, we do in different department staff, and are reviewing and looking through any other publication. I mean, most of them are online. So between the U.S. Department of Transportation, NOAA, for example, to the State Department of Commerce, just looking for what may be available out there as well. GrantWorks is really kind of, they're the professional, this is what they do, so kind of figured to utilize their services and try to find what we may not have found just yet, but let them do the work. And
So they have a research function on their
Yes.
website. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Comments?
I'm ready to move forward with this, waiting to see the contract.
Comments?
The grants, are they typically state grants?
and it could be I think they've obtained state and federal, and also private foundation grants. So they'll look at anywhere that may be available.
Have we discussed any sort of a grant with a TDC, Tourist Development Council of Pinellas County too?
We do apply for funding for events, and we are looking to apply for their capital program. I don't know if they call it a grant or whatever, but funding, for example, for our Rock Park, for our fields, and or concession bathroom building.
Thank you.
I have one more question
No,
if I can.
please.
So I'm assuming we're using the city of Bonita Springs as a piggyback for expediency.
Yes.
Would we do a parallel path or would it make sense to do a parallel path to have our own agreement at some point?
Yes,
Or-
yeah, that's
Okay.
cool, yes.
And the GrantWorks basically would do all the legwork for the city, correct?
Yes.
And federal grants that are out there also. And the lines of communication would be open so that, correct, that we can check on the progress
Absolutely.
and how they're doing. Okay.
Yes.
So I look forward to seeing the contract. I was curious how many, I know that the department heads actively look for different grants and things like that. And when I have been to the Florida League of Cities training, they always talk about the portal that they offer. How useful is that really been to us? Have we found much in it? Is it something that's?
I mean, there's a multitude of they pretty much are grabbing from federal, state, counties, I mean, and private foundations. It's kind of what GrantWorks is going, similar to what GrantWorks will be doing. A lot of, I mean, when I looked in there a few weeks ago, there were an awful lot. They're very specific. It just depends, I mean, we have some specific things that we're looking for. It's just a matter of dedicating the hours to sit there and read through pages and pages and find what we may be looking for.
I guess I should be a little, have we found anything that we've applied for through the Florida League of
Not
Cities?
yet, not through the League of
Yeah.
Cities. We
That's-
found.
that's what I was
yeah,
curious
through the Commerce Department, through, and I don't remember the exact ones that the fire has used, but some private foundations as well.
So my understanding, and this could be changed, I may be incorrect, but my understanding was the Florida League of Cities assigned us a person that would help us search through the grants. Are we utilizing that?
I've sent, we need to be using more, just as you mentioned, because we have just had discussions on kind of learning how to navigate
Yeah.
through the system, but giving them a specific, that's the next step, is to give them some specific, here's some projects and see what's available, what you can do to help us find that.
I think that would, I mean, I obviously want to see the grant works, and I especially like the contract or the agreement where they only get paid if they get us something. Better than having to write them a check to try to get us something, but I also think it would equally be as good if we could find a way to get the Florida League of Cities engaged so that they were working for us also, because it's there. And then on top of that, we know that we have elected officials who have offered their services to help write the grants. So to try to get, I know there are several projects the city wants to do that are quite costly. So it would be every angle we could go at.
Will do.
Next on the agenda is Snack Shack Repairs and Agreement Update.
So Mayor and Commission, we've discussed briefly, just wanted to go over the repairs our contractor has started making some repairs. We're going to put the building back together. We did receive an appraisal that allows for the work to be done. I think the appraisal was over $800,000 that we received, so we're able to, again, repair the inside, the flooring, the walls that need to be repaired, the electrical, and get the structure ready, essentially, for the concessionaire. We've heard, or I've shared with all of you, the concessionaire who would like an agreement extension or another agreement, but we've had our city attorney, Mr. Trask, kind of provide an opinion. And so the concessionaire requested to attend the June workshop, but just to give this continuity, it's on tonight's agenda, it'll be on next month's agenda as well. But my suggestion would be the current agreement is set to expire in July of 2026. So a little bit more than a year and a month for the current agreement. It is the concessionaire, again, whether they're going to go back in, I think remains to be determined if they are not afforded the opportunity for either another agreement or an extension of whatever that would be. It is my recommendation, and having some discussion with each one of you individually, that we look to issue a request for proposals for the concession agreement. We have not done that since 2013. So I think we're approaching the time where it would be a good idea to do that. I think, your input, I value obviously your input, and this is the discussion that's where we would like to go forward.
Questions, Commission?
Just for clarity then, Attorney Trask gave you a recommendation about this, and that was to not extend their contract? Did I misunderstand that?
My advice is to put it out for bid,
Put it out for bid, okay.
right? And do an RFP like the city manager is talking to you about. I'm very, very concerned about continuing to extend the contract when you have a provision in your charter that says that you will not enter into contracts that would provide a particular property for lease greater than 10 years. And that's exactly what has happened, is that it was originally done in 2013, so we're 12 years into it right now because of extensions that have been given. And I'm uncomfortable with doing it again, and that's why I had suggested that you put it out to bid.
So after June of 26, I think you said when it expires, is that right?
July 31st, 2026 is
2026.
the current agreement.
After that, I mean, they're obviously, well, I guess, are they going to continue to work on it, or they have the right to continue to work, to have their restaurant there until that time?
They have the right to be in there until July 31st, 2026.
Correct.
Yeah, to run their business there. Yeah.
So the idea, I don't mean, if we issue an RFP, obviously to try to have a new, whoever the concessionaire will be, to start pretty much August 1st of 2026, or however the transition would work.
Thank you.
And it doesn't mean that they cannot submit a proposal along with everyone else, and then you weigh those proposals, and you can choose them again. But I think it's the best legally for you to put it out to bid. Okay.
Correct, yeah. I believe we've talked about this issue before, about putting it out for bid, and I think that's a great idea.
We need to follow our city attorney's directions.
Yeah, I totally respect Attorney Trask's opinion here. The only thing that I would say is that if we agree that we're not going to make any extension, that we get that information to them sooner than later, because they may elect, I'm sure they have a clause that they can get out, so that we can bid this thing instead of waiting until June of next year. We can bid it while we're still doing repairs and renovations, and go forward this fall with, but leave that to their decision, so they don't put any more time or effort into the space before it's open for business.
I don't believe they've done anything, have they, Robin?
No,
Other
just
than
cleaned
clean
out,
some
removed
stuff
their,
out?
their personal items from, equipment from the location.
So just for information, post-storm, they have not had to pay rent on the building for their space because they haven't used it.
Correct.
So we're in the process of repairing. If the repair was completed in February, unless they say, yes, I agree to going out to bid, they start paying rent in February, whether they are open for business or not, under their lease.
I was just looking for the provision that allows us to stop them from paying the rent, and I haven't found it just yet, so it's a fairly lengthy agreement. But they're contractually obligated to comply with the contract that they entered into, whatever it says. So,
We will review and make that
Right,
determination.
so my question is, I guess, that if they're not paying rent, whenever we're going to be completed, which we don't know when that would be, if they do not say, yes, we'll agree to go out to bid, because I believe the reason they're wanting the extension is it's going to be quite costly for them to get their equipment that they lost, it's their equipment, not ours, back up and running. They're going to have to spend money. I also think that they're in a unique position in that they've been there for this long. They know the value of having that space and what they should be paying or what's profitable for them. So I had shared with Robin when we had our one-on-one that it seems to me that they would be better served to bid it, get the long-term new lease, if indeed they are the ones that want it, because the amount of money they're going to have to invest, they're going to have to invest either way. We're not paying for it. So with the attorney's advice that an extension is not something that we should be doing, we all agree on that, then them leaving or walking away from their lease or saying, we will vacate and let you put it back out to bid. Otherwise, they could be on the hook to start paying rent again in February
I guess-
until their lease
I
expires.
guess we run that risk then, right?
Well, I think I'll get with Mr. Trask, but it seems like we could issue the RFP. I mean, unless there's a reason that we would not, then we would begin that process now.
Yeah.
Advertising, saying that the current agreement expires July 31st. Look at what if we got to the point where that the current agreement needed to be terminated, what that would look like.
Yeah, I'm just
Bring that
wondering,
back to you.
I'm wondering if they have a 30-day clause that they can say that we're
Right.
done.
I mean, they haven't paid since
So then
September,
that would
so.
release the city to say, well, the RFP is not for June of '26, it's for February of '26.
They don't get to decide whether you go out to RFP.
No, no,
They
no,
have
what he's saying
say-so
is
in it.
that
To
we could
start.
have somebody in there sooner if,
If there's a way to.
Right.
To terminate the current agreement, right, before July of 2026.
my other question is, and I know that this is probably a terrible thing to ask, but do we have any idea what we're looking at? I know everything takes the time, the engineering, then we have to go out to bid for the repairs and everything that has to be done. Do we have a ballpark idea of when our portion of repairs for the snack shack would be completed?
I think we were discussing, and I think Megan said probably within the next 3 to 4 months. I mean, essentially sometime in the fall.
In the fall?
We'll get better. We're waiting for some information from the engineer and,
See all that?
yeah.
Historically, does it make any sense with the current condition of the structure to take this opportunity to raise it a few feet?
I think we discussed that internally, staff, as to what to do, which included that along with the worst scenario of, starting all over. I mean, we think the cost would be very expensive to do that.
Okay, I don't know if it's ever flooded before.
I
I don't believe so.
don't, not that we're aware, but I don't think anybody's been here more than 20 years that I have not had any resident or other business say that it flooded in the past. The last 27. Yeah, has not.
It seems like it's on pilings
Yes.
currently, so I don't know, just asking the question. I don't know how expensive it would, it's not like they would have to, a typical elevation of a single-family home, they would need to dig underneath, and if there's the footers and all this, basically, it looks like you disconnect the utilities and lift it up and put some block in there and set it back down.
Things were that easy.
It sounds, yeah. I think that would be perhaps more than the 50% value.
Yeah. Okay. You never know.
Anything additional?
I think Hurricane Elena was probably the worst hurricane we had had here in 1985, and I don't think it was flooded back then.
No, Hurricane
Elena.
Gloria?
Elena, 1985.
Okay, so we will move on. Next on the agenda is Community Development, interlocal agreement between Pinellas County and the local governments for multimodal impact fee coordination.
I think we have Mr. Morris.
I'll be presenting this item. So Pinellas County and municipalities must execute an interlocal agreement before October 1st of 2025 to continue Pinellas County's multimodal impact fee ordinance. Committee substitute House Bill alternative or 479 alternative mobility funding systems requires local governments to execute an interlocal agreement to continue charging multimodal impact fees. Pinellas County is in the process of updating their multimodal impact fee ordinance, but it will not be finished before October 1st, for the October 1st, 2025 deadline. This interlocal agreement continues the existing system for imposing and collecting the multimodal impact fees under the current Pinellas County multimodal impact fee. The signing of this interlocal agreement will not have any additional fiscal impact since it continues the existing Pinellas County multimodal impact fees. Staff recommends the approval of the interlocal agreement between Pinellas County and local governments for multimodal impact fee coordination. Attached to the agenda is the interlocal agreement that Fort Pinellas sent us. And then the actual ordinance from the Pinellas County Code of Ordinances that explains how their multimodal impact fees work and what type of capital projects they can go to and very, so happy to answer any questions or reach out to Fort Pinellas if it's a question that they might be varied answering.
And this is something that we collect on top of our impact fees. And so we get to retain 50% of these impact fees, and then we give the other 50% back to the county.
And some of these capital projects are like turn lanes, like bike lane sidewalks, traffic signals. So certain things like that, it could be able to help fund.
It's all in the mobility element. So in the next item, I included it, probably should have been included in this too. On page 235 of the packet, it does show compiled the amount of impact fees that we have. Page 235 of the packet. So we've collected from the county a little over 42,000. We have not used those yet. It's something that we should be looking to use. But like what Mr. Morris said, we have to use that on a mobility and capital project. So we have that in addition to the impact fees that we collect locally, and we collect those at the same time.
Sounds,
Comments? Yes,
wait on public comment.
we have none.
Sounds like a win-win situation for both the county and pretty much the city of Madeira Beach. If we're collecting 50% in revenue, and we can use that at our discretion as to what we want to use it for.
Yes, it has to be specific to something transportation related, that's mobility related, and it has to be a capital project as well.
Yeah, they have pretty strict criteria in this ordinance of what it can actually be spent on. It's pretty lengthy.
Would like a pedestrian walkway be included in something like that?
That would have to be in our capital project, but
Yes.
that would
Yep.
be an example of something
That's a,
we
yeah,
could.
qualifying expenditure.
Oh, it
would
is,
be-
okay, thank you.
As Ms. Silver said, we just would need to have a capital project that incorporates, here's
Mhm.
a road project or a sidewalk extension project, and we could budget this transportation, it's kind of commonly known as a transportation impact fee, to pay for part of those costs.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can see the fee schedule also. It's,
If you don't use this over time, does it go away?
I know ours locally does. I believe this is the same.
There's this 10-year.
10-year, where ours is, I think, 7. So this is a little longer.
Fee schedule for it starts on page 160 of our agenda.
Are we carrying any balance from prior to 2023? The chart here just shows.
That's when we started collecting
Right.
them. So,
That's when the agreement started?
no, that's when we started collecting them
Oh.
locally. I don't know when the agreement started.
Could these impact fees be used? I mean, a few items down our agenda, we're going to come up on the shortfall or the budget for the pocket parks, and the bid has come in over budget. Could they be used, since that's a city project, to cover that gap?
I would say not not on this, but we do have our local impact fees, which is the next item, and we could
That.
definitely use those.
Mhm.
We have, and we'll talk about it, but we
Okay.
have quite a bit that we can use and should use
Thank you.
towards projects.
Yeah, based on our conversation, I feel like we should follow city staff's advice.
Agree.
Is there any conflict between how we calculate the impact fees and how the county calculates their impact fees?
Not a conflict. It's there's some differences, and like Andrew said, they are recalculating it. The county is looking into changing their impact fees. I don't know what that'll look like. We'll definitely be bringing that to you and see if we can maybe get a representative from Fort Pinellas to come answer any questions. If you look in page 160 of the packet, let me go to that.
But to clarify a little bit, so we have to use what the table that exists. We don't have our own.
Right.
We use the county's table, so we simply, here's a permit that came in, single-family home, 1,800 square feet. We just simply look at the table and whatever it falls under, based on the square footage, here's the fee that we levy. So we're not creating anything.
Understood, but I somehow remember us charging for impact fees for additional bedrooms, and when the buildings, the houses, the single-family homes got rebuilt, any additional cost?
That's our fees.
That's for our
Our
impact fees.
impact
This
fees.
is
That's the
this
next
is essentially a fourth
sub.
impact fee. We levy 3 for public safety, culture, recreation, and also
Mobility.
mobility. And then this is a fourth one, if we kind of put them in order, that this is the county has an ordinance to levy and collect, and it allows all 24, I believe or X number of municipalities to, if you want to participate, this is what you do. So it's an additional to the 3 that we adopted a few years ago.
I see, so we can charge more impact fees, but not less than the county.
This
It's
is,
it's a separate impact.
Separate, we
fee.
have our own, and then this is a county one.
So let's say traffic impact fee, for instance. Let's say traffic, right? Multimodal fees. Let's say a unit of, let's say 1,500 square foot is built. And based on what I'm seeing here, the county will charge, let's say $1,336. Our multimodal impact fee will be a different cost over and above.
Well, there's the county one that we're discussing, and that the origins are Pinellas County.
Understood.
And then we have our own in addition to this one. We have 3 others that we levy impact fees, which is the source of the next agenda item discussion. So there are a total of 4.
Yeah, right now, we're just talking multimodal.
We're just talking about the one that the
Just
county
traffic
levies.
right now, nothing else, not water, no sewer, no
Correct.
parkland fees. I
Correct.
mean, I'm aware of all that. I'm just specifically looking at traffic impact fee per se,
The transportation impact fee.
transportation, yes. So
Yes.
if the county is requiring, let's say, $1,356 for a unit up to 1,500, then how much will be charging the residents? How much will our multimodal fee will be?
Well, that's based on our chart for our transportation. I guess if you want to pull that up, Jenny,
So it could be
It's on-
greater, it could be
Yeah.
greater.
it's going to
than-
be additional money.
so they,
I mean, yeah, it might be more than what the county, I mean, we'd have to look at the chart. I don't think we've memorized the amounts, but
Okay, and then the 50% would be 50% of this 1,356,
correct,
not the extra fees we're charging.
correct.
Correct.
Right,
So
so this-
we charge, take a single-family home within that first bracket. We collect that $1,356. we get to keep half, and then we give the rest to Pinellas County, just for the county's impact fee.
I get that, but I guess I can't explain myself that well.
And you're looking for what additional do we charge? And
Yes.
that's what,
I
we
can,
have a chart that we can bring up and,
um,
yeah, I can,
It's the next item on the
yeah,
agenda.
hold on.
Back, back to, if we can.
It's
We would
right-
charge, for example, I think, Jenny, you can bring up, I just pulled it up
Yes,
here.
I just pulled it up. It's page 201, and it spans from
201, yeah.
201 to 202. So right.
So if it's a 1,500 square foot home, we would charge, looks like a total of currently $8.39 per square foot. So,
Yes. And that's on the additional heated or living square footage.
Right. I have a question based on Commissioner Taglerini's comment. The pocket parks are streets. They're street ends. They're not parks.
correct.
And it's a sidewalk. We're putting in a sidewalk. So why wouldn't it qualify?
They only care about capacity projects really, with, usually with what they're funding and, let me find the,
Well, just something to think about.
I'm,
You have $40,000 here. We have a budget that's over budget, project
Yeah.
that's over budget.
So Robin, you did the
I'm
calculations?
sorry, it's $1,350 for our mobility impact fee
yeah, so,
on a 1,500 square foot structure. Because it'd be 1,500
Plus.
times 0.9, just for mobility.
Just for the mobility.
Yeah, then there's
piece.
public safety and culture and
Yeah,
recreation.
Understood.
so on
Okay, thank you.
page 156 has examples of mobility improvements that could be funded through it, and it includes construction of new through lanes, construction of new turn lanes, new bridges, upgrading existing drainage, traffic signals, like sidewalks. like-
Sidewalks are listed?
Yeah, but it'd be more like sidewalks along like a, that's really more to capacity along a street, like connecting things, like, if you're building like a new apartment building and you need sidewalk to connect to the bus stop.
I'm sure we'll find some place to spend it. Okay, it's not really a decision we have to make because it's pretty much a mandate.
Right.
So,
I don't think we have a
It's
choice
just-
in the matter.
right, it's just an explanation.
I think it'd be interesting for you to put some thought into that $42,000 and where would be a way that we could use it that would most benefit the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we can go into that with our local ones in the next item too.
Yeah, we definitely have street projects coming up.
Yes, and we should use that money.
Right. All right, next on the agenda is impact fees. Community development.
Right, impact fees again. So we have the county's impact fees, and then we have our local impact fees. We also have Jerry Murphy here tonight to discuss impact fees. So let me just go over. So in the packet, I have the ordinance of our impact fees. And like I showed before, on page 201 and 202, we have the calculation of our impact fees. As you can see, the culture and rec is quite larger than the mobility and public safety. Right now, it is $8.39 per additional square foot of heated or living square footage. I also have in the packet on page 235 what we've collected, and I broke that out into the mobility, which you'll see public works and streets, the safety, just fire, that blue, and then recreation, that green. And then on the next pages, page 236, compile the total for each. So for fire, 17 grand. For recreation, it's over 345,000. So something like the pocket parks, we could use that for. And then on the next page, you'll see both the counties and our local impact fees, which is 87,000, over 87.
Comments?
Let's say we're replacing a house. In other words, a house has been destroyed due to a hurricane, and we're replacing that. The ownership's replacing it. Do they get credit for what's been there?
Yes, they do. And we keep that in the calculation, and we have the card, the property card from the Pinellas County Properties Appraisers. When we do that calculation, we have that within the PDF that we save on every single property. So we do calculate that for residential and commercial.
Thank you.
And we also do have Jerry Murphy here. Jerry, I don't know if you want to say anything now or just wait.
I'm sure he's going to get asked a question.
Yes, I'm sure.
So good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, Vice Mayor. Let me address your question.
Thank you.
The county's transportation fee is spent on county roads. It won't be spent on any of your local streets. So it would probably be improper to use it for a sidewalk in a pocket park that doesn't connect to the main Gulf Boulevard. Your impact fees are based on the value of everything that you've acquired over time, property, buildings. Your culture and recreation is high because you have a massive amount of cultural and recreational land and buildings. So, that's great for Madeira. Your transportation fee is based on the roads that you have, not the county roads, but your personal streets, and it should be spent in that regard. I hope that helps to clarify it a little bit.
Yes, it definitely does. And I know the answer is no, but, we don't have any county roads in this city. It's all DOT and our own city streets.
And the county is probably spending county funds to maintain those roads and to work with DOT in that respect.
Okay.
So Doomy Road is a county road
you.
that
Right.
is in our city.
Doomy Road's not in the city.
Well,
Yeah,
the end of it is
Yeah.
from the Angry Pepper, south to State Road 666, so
Yeah, a little bit.
X hundred,
Yeah.
few hundred feet.
Is it the American Legion, is that county or city?
No, that's our city
That's
road,
the city
American
road.
Legion.
That's what I thought.
Road is ours.
That's what I thought.
Thank you.
So is that maybe why we didn't collect these fees in the past, that it didn't benefit us at all? We can't spend the money, or it'd be very difficult to spend the money?
I don't know why it wasn't why we didn't collect those fees before. When I was here, it was brought to my attention that we weren't collecting them. It was also while Linda Portal was here, and we were talking to Jerry, and we all three realized, we are not collecting these. We need to be collecting them.
Okay, so now, we're not on that subject anymore, but now I'm even more eager to see how you'd spend it.
If we can't spend it, why are
Because
we
if we
collecting
can't
it?
spend it, why do we want to collect it? And if we could opt out of collecting it, if it's a choice to participate collecting for the county or not, if it's not money we can spend, why would we collect it? That's my question, I guess.
So you have to collect it because the county requires you to collect it. County gives you half.
We don't
which
have
is-
to, because we didn't collect it for years.
Well, that means
now
the county didn't collect it from
So
you.
then I misunderstood, because I thought you could opt into the program or not. So did we opt into this program with the county? Is it optional? Because if the county's saying you have to collect this impact fee and you can only spend it on county roads, and we only have one county road that's 500 feet long, how's that fair? Or even just, if you don't have the roads for it, it wouldn't, I would really be interested to understand that a little bit more.
We can bring that back,
Yeah.
definitely, do some more research on that. If it is optional, I'm under the assumption that we have to,
Okay.
but we can definitely talk to Forward Pinellas and ask those questions if it's optional, and exactly what roads and what projects could we use it in
Right,
Madeira
because if
Beach.
we can use it somewhere other than a county road, then that makes sense. But if you can only use it on a county road, that does not make,
No, then it wouldn't
that,
make
that,
much
it
sense.
seems like they need to make some sort of adjustments for,
I'm pretty sure the state roads are included in that.
okay.
And,
And that the
uh,
county partners with DOT on those improvements, and that's how those improvements get
Well,
done.
then if that's, if
sooner than
state
later.
roads are included, then that's an entirely different, because we do have,
Yeah.
and,
Don't they come out of a state budget?
right?
Some of it
Correct.
does.
I don't know, Megan, don't we do we?
The
do
problem
we do
is with
anything on
that,
the
you know,
county
the
or on the
the
state
state
roads?
prioritizes projects. And if you're a partner, if the county's a partner, the priority becomes a little bit higher. You know, that's how limited funds work. So I'm sure they're spending the fees, and I think they're coming to the point where they've realized, the county has not historically been big on impact fees. The commission has not been, they haven't updated them for a very long time. The last update they did was to change the name from transportation or traffic impact fee to multimodal impact fee. And I think they threw sidewalks in there or something. It was a very minimal change. I think that their attitude, the commission's attitude, has changed in this era of fiscal challenge. And so I think they're looking to get a more equal, well-balanced impact fee than what they have now, and that remains to be seen, I guess, in
Yes,
October.
I would definitely agree. In the years prior, when we were trying to figure out, we had a few questions on the impact fees, just trying to find somebody at the county or the MPO to answer our questions, just on basic questions on the impact fee and the calculation. We were running into dead ends.
And
So
after they complete this study, I think everybody at the county's
think
gonna
it'll
know a whole lot more
change.
about what it is they're doing and
Right.
why, and they'll be able to explain that a little better.
Absolutely.
And
Okay.
I have been attending, like when they've reached out to various municipalities for the update, but this interlocal agreement would just be with the existing one. But for the update, I think the main thing they're focusing on is there's a lot of more multifamily redevelopment inland or in downtown St. Pete. And so if there's any it would probably be more of the impact of some of those larger multifamily projects, but we don't really get those here. So that's kind of more of the impact that they've, in the last kind of 10 years, that they've been more concerned about, but that we don't really get big multifamily stuff here.
What about penny for Pinellas? Is that calculated into all the?
That's a separate ad valorem tax.
Yes, but it goes into building roads.
The county can spend their money however they want to.
Yeah.
Impact fees, they have to spend proportionately,
Understood.
That's a
just as you do.
yeah, penny for Pinellas. It's a penny sales tax. They have a nice website that shows what projects they're putting the money into.
Mayor, so did anyone answer your question? What can we spend that
No.
50% on?
No, they didn't. They said
I mean,
they'd come back with it.
if that 500 feet of Doomy Road is in good shape, does that money just grow and grow until that 500 feet of Doomy Road is destroyed? What can we spend it on?
Bus stops are included too.
Even if
Sure,
they're, well, all the bus stops are on the state road, right?
Right.
Well, they can, well, I mean, PSTA's account, well, we should probably get an answer from Fort Pinellas on some examples of projects that we can get. I know in their long-range transportation plan, though, they do plan to do some pretty significant improvements to Doomy Road, including all the way into Madeira Beach.
But that's still not us spending our 50%,
Right,
is it?
right.
I'm just-
I agree.
If we are the benefit of this, I mean, I guess we have to, but if we get 50% of that, I'm waiting for an answer. Where can we spend it? We can't spend it on the end parks. We can't spend it on our roads, our residential roads. Where can we do with it?
Right, because why would we spend money on the county's road? I mean,
Well-
maybe there's a reason that we would, but if we're collecting an impact fee on behalf of the county and the county's letting us keep 50% of it, but we can only spend it on county roads, why would we do that? It's not our road, it's the county's road, and they're responsible for maintaining it. So I'd like some clarification on where the money
we'll
can be
look.
spent. And is it optional to participate, although I understand why you'd want to participate or not?
I can tell you in a prior life that the cities, we're so small and we have a very small, as has been stated, 500 feet or whatever that is on Dume Road. In the past, cities would move projects along before the county got to them. So I can tell you in another city that I was in, that was the usage of the transportation impact fee. We're so small that that doesn't work here.
Right.
In reality, but we'll reach out to the county and get some other examples from other cities what have used for.
Mr. Murphy, do you have an answer to that? Or are you just waiting for
No,
us
he's-
to ask you? Do you?
In terms of what you can spend it on?
Yeah.
Well, I think you just have to think creatively. So, you know, and again, county roads, state roads, think of those all as county roads, even though the state may own them. The county is going to be the primary maintenance facility, and they're going to work with the state to get their money back or partner or whatever. You can do the same thing. For instance, say you wanted to put benches and shelters along the main drag Gulf Boulevard for mobility, for people to stay, you know, out of the rain or out of the sun. That might be something the county would like to do, but it's not a priority. It's not in their CIP. You could forward a project like that with county fees.
So getting back to what I was saying, Jerry, about the pedestrian walkways between 140th and say 150th, which are few and far between. I've had many, over the last season, you know, I've had many residents complain about the jaywalking through there. Don't you believe, you know, that we could use that money constructively by building another crosswalk between 140th and 150th, maybe right around the reef area or where the hotel used to be that's gone now, the Schooner Hotel?
You'd have to propose it to the county and
Okay.
say, you know, we've got, and you don't have that big of a balance. It's really not
FDOT,
that much.
That would be
State road,
FDOT, that's a state road.
Well, you have to
FDOT
coordinate
is-
with everybody.
Right.
But again, you know, your primary contact is the county then works with the state, but that might be a project that you would want to offer the funds that you have. 42,000?
42,000.
The schooner's already
Over-
going to do that.
This schooner's already.
4 years, you know, so.
Eddie.
We will review that and
You're
then
gonna
get
pay
back
for
to
it.
you.
Yeah,
The schooner
but
is-
if I might, to answer Commissioner Gavai's question, we have a house that got demolished by the hurricane, and it needs to be rebuilt. And his question was about the impact fee. Well, it would have to be rebuilt to FEMA standards, so it would have to be elevated. And that's where our discussion had gone. You're going to elevate this home, and since you elevate it, if it's exact same footprint, including the garage, now you have unconditioned space that turns into conditioned space. So that garage area becomes new air-conditioned space and would be charged by the city as an impact fee.
That's correct.
Whether you made the house, not making the house any larger than the original footprint, not putting a second story on, just elevating that home and air conditioning that garage, becomes livable space, that would be charged.
Well, you could make it a porch and then it wouldn't be. You're increasing the size of your house, so you're going to pay the fee.
Same roof line.
If you consider, which it is, the garage and anything on the ground level non-habitable, then you won't charge for non-habitable space. Just charge for habitable.
I'm just explaining what the city currently will charge for.
Yes. And that should,
And the county might charge as well, depending on if you crossed their threshold for square footage. Your square footage is granular, it's square foot by square foot. Theirs is tiered. It's like 0 to 1,000 or 1,500.
0 to
and then beyond
1,500 is
that,
what
and
it is.
1,500 to whatever. You
Right.
cross that
But
threshold.
Right, but my argument's always been, that's not impacting the community at all. Not one bit, not mobility, not parks, not anything, because that
it's not,
family.
it's not bringing additional traffic, is what
It's
you're
not,
saying.
it's not impacting anything, but that family will be charged thousands of dollars because they had to elevate their home. And if their stairwell is also air-conditioned, well, that's more air-conditioned space. And that's not what the intent while we,
Well,
of the board
that's a
at the
static
time.
dynamic. You're talking about one family that lives there now, going through all of the,
Well, there's 138 demo permits.
I understand. But the way the house is used, if it's got 500 additional square feet of air-conditioned space, it can be occupied by more people. Maybe not the Kerr family, but the Kerr family might sell that to somebody else, and they get it in the Airbnb, and, get all those
And
kind of
6 months.
constraints.
6 months.
What?
You're restricted.
Yeah.
Six-month rental period.
Yeah.
Back in most
But
of
it
these
could be 15
communities.
people instead of a family of 2 or 3.
For 6 months.
Very possibly.
A lot of things. I think we're reaching.
But, I'm just, that's the way the thing is set up.
I know.
Now, I think there's a possibility, and that's one of the things that we're looking at maybe investigating, to deal with a waiver or an exception or some sort of tax increment financing aspect to waive those fees and cover them otherwise. And that's part of the proposal that's at the very end of the package, pages 239 and 240. And that's something that we're proposing on the university level to investigate with the city, and also to talk to the residents about their concerns with the fee itself. It's been in place now for about, we've been working on it for about 7 years, but it's been in place since 21, so almost 5 years.
Right.
It's something that, is probably due to be reevaluated. You have the opportunity to reevaluate it every year, but I don't think that's necessary because you've got your discount percentage increasing. But I think the way that it has been rolled out is worthwhile reevaluating at this point, particularly in the aftermath of the hurricanes, to see if there might be a way to find an exception for elevating and enclosing that garage and not having to charge a fee. Because at the end of the day, what you're doing is getting a vulnerable structure out of the floodplain up into the air where the water can flow through. And that's a desirable result here in Madeira Beach.
Absolutely. The residential fees have vastly been more than the commercial fees, which was the whole idea when we started down this path years ago. One of the questions we had was, if memory serves me correctly, we had to reassess the actual cost to the city of transportation, the cost of the city of the park. So how often was that? Was that every 10 years? Every 5 years?
You're able to do it every year. I think the way that we drafted it was to do it every 7 years, so it would be in conjunction with your evaluation and appraisal of the comprehensive plan, which is every 7 years.
So we would bring you back under contractor in 3 more years. How long's it been in? 4?
I think you're in the beginning of your 5th year.
Okay.
See, the ordinance was in 2021. We started in April 1st, 2022. We started collecting in
yeah.
April 2022.
So in 2029, we'd have to, or 2028, we'd have to reassess what the actual costs are, because if I recall, they had to be validated by a third party, independent third party, what they actually were for the state. Because I know you went through a lot of work to
Yeah.
determine what the costs actually were.
I believe the ordinance would be submitted to the state. The ordinance that would modify the comprehensive plan would be submitted to the state. And I think you certainly can submit the ordinance that would modify the land development regulations to the state. I don't think that's being done consistently across the state. Once you update your comprehensive plan, the statute says that within a year, you're supposed to update your land development regulations to implement those plan policies. But based on the conversations that we've had before with the commission, I think, the proposal that we've made is to go ahead and start an update process, talking to the community to see their impressions of the impact fees, what they'd like to see, what they don't like, how it might be modified, and if there is a desire among the community to look at a way to do that elevation and enclosure as an exception to the fee. And
that's not
I
some-
think, with my floodplain manager hat on that, it's a good idea. It's a great idea.
And
Just
that's
have to
not,
find out if there's a legal way to do it.
that's not something we can just do here as a board, discuss that?
Ultimately, it's something you can do as a board, yeah.
But do we have to go into a contract and wait until this time next year, after all the public workshops are done, delay this for a year? Or is that an idea that we can just bring to the board at this point and do it under the ordinance?
There still needs to be research done on whether it would be legal. And I think, given the weather of the past couple years, I think there's a desire among the community to maybe promote something like that, but I don't know that for sure. I'd also like to make sure that we do planning officials training and conduct it with the local planning agency, planning and zoning agency, so that they have the opportunity to have that training and understand better what an impact fee is and how it needs to be rolled out. And that's what we proposed.
But we couldn't just give a 500 square foot variance to new construction or to elevating?
I'll defer to Attorney Trask.
Can you,
Let's say you have a 2,000 square foot home with a 500 square foot two-car garage on it. You elevate it, or you rebuild that same home. Now you've taken that 500 square foot of garage and you've turned it into living space. You couldn't give a variance for the first 500 to be at 0, and anything above that to be at the going rate. I'm using quick terms, quick square footages.
so I don't believe your code currently allows a variance to anything that's not in your land development code. Remember, this is in section 92 or chapter 92 of your code, which is not in the land development code.
It would have to be in the comprehensive plan.
Would have to be in the land development code for the special magistrate to hear a variance proceeding on that.
Because everyone that's elevating is going to be in this spot.
Well,
And I don't understand why they would need a variance. I mean, if it's
Well, I'm just, because they're going to
otherwise
get
meets the
charged
Florida building
500.
code, you're
Do the
asking whether or
math.
not you have an.
8 times 500, what's that? They're going to be charged it's $5,600 worth for every one, impact fee for everybody that's going to raise their home.
So what you're asking about is the same thing that Mr. Murphy is saying, is there a way to create an exemption or a waiver for a certain portion of the build-out?
Correct.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a variance, it would be an exemption or a waiver.
Okay.
Yeah.
Used the wrong term, but yeah. Could that be done by ordinance, or is that something that's
it would have to
along-
be done by ordinance.
Is that
I
a,
just think it's something that needs to have substantial, competent evidence supporting it so it's defensible when somebody decides to challenge it. Not that that ever happens in Madeira Beach.
well, we could have public discussion on it. I mean,
That's what our proposal is.
but it goes all the way out until April 30th of,
Well, we kind of planned for a storm. We can get done sooner, but we didn't want to have to go back and amend it in case there's a storm.
I don't know. I'm more amenable to that than, impact fees should be when you're building a new condo. It shouldn't be, we're built out. It shouldn't be when someone wants to rebuild their home. That's just me. It's not the first time you've heard it,
No, sir.
I'm just trying to look out for myself, my neighbors, and everyone here in the city, and I don't think it's fair.
Well, I think if we explore it, we can find out for sure whether it can be done. And if it can be done, we'll present it. And if there are options, we'll present those.
Okay, I just don't want to wait for a year. So, but that's, I appreciate you putting together the plan and the proposal. The proposal is amenable as far as I'm concerned. I just, these people are going to be they're going to be submitting for permits here in the coming days and weeks, not next year. Next year, their houses are going to be built and they're already going to be charged.
You can handle that by way of a refund. You could also build in a provision in your ordinance that would provide for refunds if the waiver was ever placed into it. So you can address that, so they'd have to pay it up front, and with the possibility of a refund if the waiver gets approved. So those are things that we would need to look into.
Okay, I'd be amenable to that.
And there's a refund provision in the ordinance. I'm not exactly sure that it would cover this specific instance, but, you know, it covers how all the money goes. And obviously, I think if it's not spent in 7 years, it has to be refunded anyway, so.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's why you want to spend your impact fees.
how do they do that?
Yeah.
We haven't had a.
Well, you've got an impact fee trust fund where all the money sits.
Yeah.
And it's actually gaining interest, so that's good. And so if you haven't spent the fees, you refund them based on the permit that collected them.
Well, yeah, I'd like to look into that, if we can put that on an agenda to do, if we can at least get the board to look at and vote if they'd be amenable to that waiver and get this. I mean, if it doesn't go through, it doesn't go through.
We're going to spend $30,000 to investigate whether or not we can.
Every person's going to spend $5,600.
I believe, and we disagree. on
Yes,
this.
we
Yeah,
do.
we do disagree, which is fine. But I believe that when somebody lifts their home, there's an impact on the community. And we lowered our permit fees by 1% this past year. And to me, lowering our permit fees by 1% is saving whoever, whether you're lifting, tearing down and building new, expanding, keeping the same footprint, whatever you're doing, we gave a greater discount by reducing the 1%. The impact fee, because when you collect permit fees, they can only be used for the building department. And when we reduced from 2% to 1%, the reason I felt so adamant that that was the best thing to do as opposed to getting rid of impact fees was because the building department, how much can they build? I mean, they can only spend the money in the building department. They can only spend it on what they're doing for them specific. But with impact fees, there are so many other areas we can use that money that benefits the residents of the community. And I don't know that, I mean, there's benefit to the residents of the community to build another satellite office for the building office or building department, or to buy another car, or to upgrade the truck, or whatever. But there's greater benefit in what the community gets from an impact fee because it can be used so diversely. It can pay for the pocket parks. It can pay for playground equipment. It can pay for, just, to me, there's just, in my opinion, there's just greater opportunity to benefit the community than with the building department. And when we voted to reduce that from 2% to 1%, that was a big give back to the community.
And my argument has always been the few should not pay for the services of the many.
I don't think it's the few.
The few. The few that are adding on to their, or building a new home, most because they have to. So you have to, if I thought that reducing the permit fee would, rephrase this, I just go back to that. It's just, it's the few paying for what the many are going to enjoy, whether that's other residents or tourists that are visiting the area. It's the few that are paying for that pocket park versus everyone, all the residents paying their share to that pocket park. So do we put a dedication on each pocket park from the, thank you to all the impact fee people that have raised their homes? It's unjust. It's just unjust. I mean, we have to pay for these parks and pay for whatever we need to pay for, but I don't see it as impacting the community. The whole reason that impact fees came up is because they were building these condos on 150th. They were building Beachmaker, and residents were up in arms that all these extra tourists are going to come to our community and they're going to make us spend more for fire. They're going to make us spend more for police. They're going to make us spend more for our roads and whatever services we provide. That was the reason that the impact fees were even discussed from the beginning. It's not like we need a new school. It's just a money grab as far as I'm concerned. So, and it's not just. If it was every resident had to pay $100 because they need a new pocket park, okay. I mean, that's where the ad valorem taxes come in. It's a share. Everyone is equal into the services, the cost and the services of the city. So I know I may stand on an island, but I'm going to die on that island because that's the way I believe. It should just be commercial because they are impacting our community. You can't build an 80-room hotel and not have it impact our community. You can't build a new condo where you had low-rise buildings and not impact the community. It's beds and baths is what it is. It's not square footage of a home. A 3-bedroom, 3-bath home is going to be or 2-bath home is going to be the same thing if it's a little bigger or not. That's just my opinion, and it's going to be. So, said it
Comments?
before.
Any other comments? Comments?
I guess this will come back and we'll have to vote on this the next BOC meeting. But we just don't have an idea of whether we want to, after this is all done, have a waiver to refund those if the community decides that they agree with my position versus the current status.
Well, also, I think you have to look at the fact that 138 demo permits, I would like to see the numbers as far as how many residents moved out of our community, and now we have new residents coming in that paid pennies on the dollar for these houses, And I don't think they deserve any kind of a special favor as far as waiving their
And they're paying full permit fees.
Jenny, do we know how many people to date have applied to lift their homes?
Marcy may have an idea if about 10 in
We
the
have
queue, about 10 to be elevated in the queue. That's right now. And then depending
Yeah, I
if they
think-
have a garage or not, I know that we were talking earlier today about one resident who didn't want to air condition the garage, so that wouldn't be living square footage that would be calculated in impact fees. And then these permits, if it's the same homeowner from when the storm occurred, we wouldn't be charging any permit.
Right.
And I know
right.
that's just for a year, but that's also a cost that they're not paying
incurring,
right now.
right.
So in that case, it wouldn't be any impact fees. But most case scenarios, if you had a garage, you would think that they would turn that into living square footage. So then that additional square footage would then become calculated for that impact
Into
fee.
it.
And the people that do buy these homes and turn them into Airbnbs also, I do believe that does have a impact on the community as well. So, another angle to look at that.
But most of our residential area, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny, is 6 months.
Yeah.
So you don't,
Most of it is.
Airbnb is 6 month.
There's
Right,
some
right.
places that are grandfathered, but it's not many.
It's not many. It's,
Right.
it's really up near Gulf Boulevard.
Yes, Gulf Boulevard, a lot
And even
of
there,
those
even,
can
even they're
do-
3 months, up, very
Uh,
close to Gulf
We have
Boulevard. isn't it?
nightly rentals, I believe that's in R3, C3, C4. R2 is 3 months,
Yep.
right, Andrew?
And 6 months for R1.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much anything along Gulf Boulevard or 150th allows nightly rentals. And then once you start going further into those neighborhoods, then it isn't allowed.
Okay, I'm done.
Any opinions?
I'm done.
Well, if I may, if you're building a brand-new home, you're elevating, and whatever's below FEMA should be considered non-habitable. You can't put an air conditioning in there. It's not a living space, and you should not be paying impact fee for a non-habitable.
You're not.
Just the square footage above would be, and of course, if you're, doesn't matter if you're buying a new owner or whatever, if the house was there historically, that house impact fees should be credited to the new builder, new person. That's whether, they're moving in now or they've lived there, it doesn't matter. The house has been there and impact fee should be credited.
So the conversation is, if you raise your house and you enclose your garage, and a garage is anywhere between, a standard two-car garage is between 400 and 600 square feet. There are some that are 700 odd square feet if they're oversized two-car garages. The conversation is, the opinion of Vice Mayor Kerr is that if you're raising your house and you have a 500 square foot garage and you're going to keep the same footprint, but you're going to enclose that garage and make it living space.
You can't.
You can, but currently you pay impact fees on that 500 square feet because you've added air-conditioned space to the house.
Well,
He would like for us to do this study so that those individuals wouldn't have to pay impact fees on that garage space.
Well, I'm saying it's illegal to make that garage habitable. You can't go request a variance on on something that is non-habitable and FEMA prohibits it.
Well, no, you're raising it. So once the house goes up, the garage can be made into a bedroom or a living room
No, you
or,
can't.
Garage is 14 feet.
yeah, it is.
It's
And
above
they
the
are
design
doing
flood
it.
elevation.
Well,
And they take the garage door off, they block that wall up, and you make that living space.
You can't. I'm sorry. You raise it up to, the habitable floor would be above FEMA plus 3 feet or whatever it is that we have a freeboard. Anything at the ground level or below FEMA is not a living place.
So the garage is going up with the house. This is the house,
Yes,
this is the garage. The whole thing is going up in the air,
okay.
the whole thing. And so when they lift the garage up, they're enclosing it and making it a
Okay,
room
if
with
the
air
garage,
conditioning.
if garage
Yeah,
goes
that's-
up with that.
The garage is going
yes,
up,
That
yes.
I understand.
And so you're having to pay impact fees on the garage square footage because when it was sitting on the ground, it wasn't habitable. It wasn't air conditioned. The minute you lift it up and put air condition in it, you have to pay an impact fee.
Subject for discussions. I think we can go on forever.
Well, the reason we need to kind of have a discussion, not kind of, but that we do, is because Vice Mayor Kerr would like this to come back for us to vote on. Are we gonna, and so the discussion is so that everyone can understand when we come back at our next meeting, are you gonna vote yes to spend $30,000 to do a study to possibly do away with impact fees? So that individuals raising their home won't pay the impact fee on that 500 square foot, or are you gonna vote no? Just so that we all have, I mean, you don't have to share that, but just so that anyone that has questions understands when we come back in 2 weeks, it'll be on the agenda. Do you understand it? Do you have any more questions about it?
Just understand by doing this, and let's call it 500 square feet. If the garage is smaller, if it's bigger, what, doesn't matter. You just have to make it easy. This would not impact any of the commercial properties that are currently, I mean, the whole idea was trying to rewrite it where it's, which would have been a lot more than this, I would think, where instead of by square footage, it might be by bed and bath or by, because I think we had that option when we were first looking at this versus instead of doing it air-conditioned square feet, but by doing it by bed and bath or whatever. By giving a 500 square foot allowance, it would not impact the commercial. So if they build any new condo along the beach, this wouldn't impact what the commercial's doing. They're building a 50,000 square foot building. It wouldn't, we'd still benefit by the commercial, which I believe was the intent of the whole exercise years ago before it started.
I'm pro impact fees. I want you to pay. If you're going to increase the square footage of your home and your livable space, I think it impacts the community and you should pay.
So
Right, we're
yeah,
at odds.
We're at odds.
But we're still friends.
since y'all were talking about the garage, and there's a lot of discussion on that, I just calculated it really quickly with the 500 square feet. So multiplied by, right now it's $8.39, so that's $4,195. So that would be the impact fee of enclosing a 500 square foot garage, turning that into
Right.
living square footage.
Oh, I had the impact fees wrong. I thought it was $11.
That's when it's fully, over 10 years, it'll get there. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Is there anything that you needed to explain on your chart, on your Exhibit A?
Only if you have questions.
Pretty,
My question to the mayor would be, if I may, to Jenny. Jenny, do you have the direction that you need?
I was just about to clarify that. So will we be taking this to the next BOC meeting to vote on whether to go forward with this study, correct? That's the direction that I'm getting from this.
Yes.
Okay.
If we should bring the interlocal agreement separate.
No,
You're gonna
just as
find out
impact
more
on
fees.
that.
Yeah, we'll be finding out more. of
So
the
bring that to
interlocal.
the June BOC workshop for the interlocal agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, Jerry.
Next on the agenda is building permit process, community development.
Okay, and we have Marcy coming up here too. So give us just a minute. All right. Yes, okay. So I know last meeting that we were briefly talked about the permitting process in community development, and then also building. So there's two separate functions. We have the planning, or what was the planning department, community development, and then the building. Now we're all one department, as we were kind of talking about before in the budgeting meeting. So in planning, we look at many things like setbacks, drainage, height, things of that nature. We also are looking at floodplain requirements. Are you meeting the freeboard? Do you have flood vents? Things of that nature. And then we also have the building official, and the building official's review and plan reviewers. The last few weeks to a month, we have received extra help through CAP Government. That's who we're using for our building official. So that is on the building side of getting extra permit reviewers. So we are doing that. We have one full-time extra permit reviewer. And then for those larger projects, we are also getting outside help for that through that CAP Government services. So more on the planning side, that's when we're looking, planning and floodplain side, we'd be looking at the remodels. Does the remodel exceed that 50%, the FEMA 50% that we're always talking about? We're looking at the appraisals, we're looking at the cost estimates, making sure that everything's within the same footprint. And then planning also has all the elevated homes, which is a lengthy review. It's not as easy as just taking your home and elevating it. There's many features within that. And then comes to setbacks with stairs and possibly triggering the variance criteria. We've had a lot more variances than what we usually have. Typically, we have 1 to 5 variances a year. We are getting 2 variances, 3 variances every month. So it's a lot on planning staff. We are realizing this. We have our planning staff. We also have outside help through Trans Systems currently for plan review. Next week, we will be able to have more plan review assistance through Al Carrier. I'm sure a lot of you know him. He's been with the city for a while. We're looking to see if we can get extra people through his company to help us with plan review. One thing that we have struggled in the past is getting other plan reviewers to understand our code, the interpretation of our code, bringing someone in to look more on the planning side of things, interpreting it differently than we do. A lot of plan reviewers are looking at other communities. They have their own code of ordinances. So many times that we have done that in the past with people that we don't know and that we're not familiar with, we run into issues that then we have to go back and correct these issues. It takes longer for planning staff to do that. So that's kind of where we are in a nutshell. We will be starting next week, getting more plan reviewers on that planning side. I feel that we are pretty comfortable on the building side of review, but it's more so getting that planning side and those permits looked at. And it does take quite a while, even with elevated homes. New homes always take quite a bit of review. Marcy, do you have any? I'm sure you would have more to add, but
Best to
or
field
questions.
Yeah, maybe it'd be best to answer questions.
So I'd like to share with the commission what I shared with the two of you earlier today about Treasure Island. So after our last meeting, the residents came and said Treasure Island was issuing permits to raise houses in a day. They're not. They never have, not a single one. I went personally to the city of Treasure Island today and had a conversation with their permit department. And actually, she's going to send me the data on how many raised homes that they have issued the permits on and how long it took for them to get those permits issued, if there are any. But there have not been any issued within a day or 3 days or even a week. I thought that was very informational. She did share with me also that when they had all of the state help, and they had quite a bit of state help down in their office, and they were there, if I recall, it was 3 days a week. And they had them set up in stations, very similar to what we have done in here, where you can walk out with a permit same day. When the state cut off that funding and the commission voted to not fund those people to return, they didn't bring them back. So it created a backlog for them. So now their commission voted to bring in extra help so that they can try to get caught back up. But it is very expensive, as we know, because staff has shared with us, getting that extra help is very expensive. And when you're not charging for permits, there has to be some level of patience from the resident that we are hiring outside help to come in and help us when we're not collecting any money to pay that outside help. So, but I did want it to go on the record that there were no elevated home permits issued in Treasure Island. So hopefully we'll see. That's all I have on that.
So, Jenny, you said that the reviewers sometimes aren't familiar with our ordinances. Did you have a fix for that, a pool to hire from?
So we have Al Carrier who.
Right, who knows our ordinances
Yes,
very
and
well.
he's been with us for a long time. We fully trust Al in the permit review. He's looking at drainage, civil, floodplain planning. So he's not looking at Florida building code related things. That's the building official, it's building review. So we definitely trust Al. Al has other people that he has worked with that have helped us with review, who have been excellent. This is actually how we met Marcy. I met Marcy.
So, but we already pay Al, right?
Yes, we pay Al.
Right.
So Al will have extra time starting next week. And so that's when
Great.
we're starting that. And after discussions with Al, he may have 1 or 2 extra people that he might be able to bring on. It's not for sure, but we'll kind of fill it out. But we'll definitely have more time with Al sitting in our office and reviewing permits.
So that, I think that answered my next question. How many are you trying to bring, permit reviewers are you looking to bring on?
Definitely more time with Al. So right now he sits 2 days a week. We're looking at 3 to 4 days a week with his time. So that'll, hoping, drastically help. We're also pulling back some of the staff that is reviewing plan review from open hours, just to kind of be on call, but be in the back doing permit review at that time instead of being out here in open hours. But if they're needed, they can come out to open hours. And then we're hoping that Al may have 1 or 2 other people.
And I know this is obvious, but this will speed up the permit process ultimately.
Yes. And get that logged down.
Thank you. I think it's a good idea. I think we should do it. If I could sum up every conversation I've had with residents, it all comes down to where's my permit? So whatever we can do to make that process go faster, I feel like, yes, we're going to be spending more money. These are different times. This is a time when we had a major catastrophe. We have so many hundreds of houses that are, anyway, yes, we're going to spend more money, but we need to.
During open hours, when no one's here, do the people sitting out here, they can still do tasks that they typically would do if they were sitting at a
Yes.
desk
So
somewhere else?
We'll still have about 3 to 4 staff out here in open hours. We will still have staff here. But the people who are plan reviewers, they're actually reviewing the plans, approving plans, will be sitting at their desks. But if they're needed to come out, they're available.
And the staff that's out here, as you can see, we're very mobile. So a lot of them sit out here even not during open hours. This is their office seat, so they're fully capable of hopping over and doing whatever else they have on their plate when they're not answering questions specific to the open hours time.
I would imagine once a permit is submitted, that after a few days, you're having residents come in during open hours to check on status of where their application is.
Quite a lot of residents do come up to check the status of their
That's
permits.
something that can easily be done during open hours. You can
Yes,
say,
yeah.
I guess, nothing more than what they can see online, though, basically. Okay, according to this,
Basically.
it's in review, or it's in whatever statuses you might have listed. Where are the bottlenecks now, and where do you expect the bottlenecks to be 6 months, a year from now?
I think right now is just getting people on more of the planning side, floodplain side, reviewing permits and reviewing those new homes, reviewing those elevated homes.
Okay, so there's 9.75 people in building services, I believe, from our budget meeting. How many of those, I mean, I could go by each individual title. I'm just trying to get an understanding of where we are capacity-wise as far as permits versus, and in my simple mind, it's either you're applying for a permit or you're inspecting to make sure that you're doing what your plan, what you said you were going to do based on the plans that were approved.
So it's
So-
also bringing in the permit, so like our permit technician an office manager will review these permit applications, assure that they are complete, they have every single paper, everything signed, before the planner even reviews it. So there's that review process as well that usually isn't talked about, and that is quite hefty, trying to get all of the proper documentation before we can even really review the permit and the permit application. And then from there, we also will have the planning and floodplain review that kind of goes simultaneously. That was through the planning and zoning department. So we have three or four people that do plan review on that side. And then on the building side, we have our building official who is looking for compliance with the Florida Building Code. And then she has additional staff that is remote that can also review on the building side of things. So most permits will come in, the permit technician or office manager will look at the application, see that it's complete. Once it's complete, it goes to planning staff to review. It goes to building staff to review. And then if it needs any public works, obviously Megan will review it as well. Those are more of your larger projects. And then it will also go to fire if it's a larger project as well. So there's multiple people within the review process. It's not just one person.
So out of the 9.75, I see inspector as one of them. Are they the only ones that going out in the field to actually inspect the permits as they call for inspection, whether it's electrical or mechanical or structural or whatever, that we have one inspector out of this?
We have one
List.
in-house inspector, and then through CAP Governments, they also have an inspector as well.
Okay, so but that's not listed here. That's-
No, since that is outside help.
Bear with me. Okay, so the vast majority of the building services group is for review and approve.
Review, and then also think of code enforcement as well. So code enforcement is within that building department, but that's also what you're seeing in that.
And code enforcement being different than inspection.
Yes, yes. But we do have our inspector, while he's out in the field, reporting any code cases. So we're picking up those
Right.
as well.
So,
And that's for building code compliance
Yes.
in the building fund. So it's to ensure that work is being done with a permit. So they're visually and
they're-
physically reviewing property. So again, to comply.
Right, they're
with
the
the building
permit
code.
police.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So can see where, being in the floodplain hazard area where we are, that you really, it would be tough to outsource any of the review piece of this.
Yeah, so we've done that in the past. We did that, well, before I got with the city, back in 2018, I know that some of the plan review was outsourced. So I can't really speak to that as much, but when I was with the city, we did outsource it for a few months, not to Al and his group, but to another outside group, and we had a lot of issues. We had to go back through all those permits and correct a lot of things, calling people up, making corrections on permits. So that is something we do not want to go through again. So we want to make sure that whoever we're using, we are comfortable with them, they are interpreting the code the same way that we are, and that we have vetted whoever's doing our plan review fully.
And you're comfortable with CAP services and our
Yes,
carriers?
absolutely.
All right.
Kathy, our building official, if you've not met her, she has been excellent, excellent.
Now back to the inspection piece, you don't have such a demand yet, but I kind of see the snowball coming, where you're going to have a lot of buildings going up at the same time. Does the city allow independent inspectors?
Yes, we do, and we have that reduced permit fee, which is in the fee, well, will be in the fee manual, depending on how it's voted on.
Okay,
But
That's-
yes, just for inspections, we do.
that's great to know. And I only bring that, I know the Reddingtons are allowing that, and I was just wondering, because that would have to take a lot of time.
It takes some, but we still have to do the floodplain review. So
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah,
that, then we
but-
do the plan review. So that doesn't cut down on all of it, but it could cut down, obviously, on the inspection side of things.
Yeah. Just trying to look ahead.
Of course.
Okay, so that's really the only piece that you let outsource by the contractor. Let's say the GC is going to build, and he has his own inspectors because he wants to get this house done.
Yes, and
and he
we'll
doesn't
see
wanna
that
wait.
more on commercial jobs is having their own inspector, private provider for
Okay.
inspector.
Isn't that what we voted on, changing the pricing
Yeah.
for in the fee
Okay. So
schedule?
there's
That
a
percentage we
reduced-
changed, that's exactly what you're asking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bottlenecks, again, it's just really the review process, and that's you're kind of taking care of that because you're outsourcing. So is there anything that we can do for you to help?
Marcy, can you think of anything?
No, I think it's just trying to get the proper information in. I mean, even when homeowners hire private providers to help expedite their permit, just today, the private provider sent an email about the design that the homeowner had to meet, and it was incorrect. So we run into that where they've actually hired and paid somebody to help with the permitted plan set, and they are still incorrect, as if they didn't even open up our code. So a lot of it is just the quality of the work coming in. Like with elevations, we have had elevation projects pre-storm, so we were familiar with them and familiar with what goes wrong with them. So coming in with that knowledge, when we review them, we look at those plans with that knowledge that we have, that we learned the hard way along with the contractor, so that those mistakes don't happen again. So that's where we kind of come into this with that knowledge of what can go wrong. So when we're looking at those plan sets, we can catch them and prevent them from happening again with the elevation projects. So just having that experience in our team is good. In addition to having Al and his actual man hours, reviewing it, he's also there to help facilitate conversation with the team when we come up with something. We're like, how do you interpret this? How do you view this? What are your thoughts? We're going to have quicker turnaround time with that. And that is one of the advantages we probably have we call it the fishbowl that we all work in the conference room, is that we're all there spearheading and answering questions to keep things constantly moving. So that is the one one of the really good things that come from that. So I think if we can continue with that, getting Al in here some more, continuing to utilize CAP like we're utilizing them. The best thing, like with Kathy, if we're having a conversation today about a contractor, she's like, I'm gonna call them. She's constantly picking up the phone and reaching out to them. And that has been a great change for us over the last couple of months. That way we are cutting out the middle person, the contractor's hearing directly from, the building official. So all those little things are starting to add up and create our ability to be able to work through this. The biggest thing is for the community part, I don't ask for a piece of paper I don't need. I don't want to have to look at another piece of paper, review a piece of paper. So if we're asking for it, we need it. We have, 3,000 residents with 3,000 different mindsets. So it may make sense to you, and we may very well have pictures of your home, but I can't take the drawing and look at all the pictures and figure out which door and window you're doing. So the more precise information we can get from the public with these, owner builder permits, it goes a long way. So more precise is better. So those are the biggest things, I think, if you can continue to tell, the residents that we're really asking for the bare minimum we need to get these permits across the finish line, but we have to be able to walk on site and know what you're doing, where in the building you're doing it, and those types of things. So that goes a long way if we can continue to get support with that messaging.
But when a resident comes and asks how long it takes to get a permit for an elevation project, what should we tell them? What's your average time? And I'm not even saying to approval, but at least to get it back.
For first review.
Yeah, first.
If
set of
it
comments.
didn't make the cut, at least to get it back so they can get it addressed, whatever those things are that need to be. And is there an expedited, do they go back to the bottom of the pile when they give those comments back?
I'd say right now for first blush of comments, I think 4 to 6 weeks may be kind of
That's what I
about
was
where we're kind of
thinking,
landing with that.
month and a half.
And we are working with our software. I know that some of the deliverables that are coming from it as far as reporting, re-entry into the system for corrections, we're working with them to get that more manageable so that when somebody does resubmit, we're flagged quicker, because the quicker you resubmit it, the quicker we can get to it, the more it's already in our mental channel, and we can, this project, and kind of get it across the finish line. So we're working with our software program to be able to give that to us a little better. So if we can get the right answer back, the second review ideally should go quicker. But
It's-
sometimes people fix one thing and break another, so that becomes an issue too with the process as well.
Yeah, typically the first review will be the longest review. Once we know the project, once we know the comments,
Roughly how many hours do you spend on an elevation permit?
there's a lot of variables too.
Yeah.
We run into a lot of, with these elevated homes and new homes, non-conforming structures, non-conforming lots, unusual lots. And so we're constantly trying to review the non-conforming section, figure out, can they be in the same footprint? If they want to expand, what does that look like? Do they need a variance? If they can't expand here, where would they expand? Can you clean off the edge on the house on this side? No. Okay, can you do on the other side? There's a lot of interpretation of our code that we go in the fishbowl, we put whatever property we're talking about up on the TV. We all discuss until we all feel comfortable with the interpretation. And if we have any questions, we'll go to our attorney, to Mr. Trask, and discuss that as well. So it's hard to kind of give a ballpark because we run into a lot of those with these elevated homes. Where are you going to put the staircase? Where is that in the setback? What does that look like? Is there another option for stairs? Oh, they want to do a balcony. Can that be in the setback? Where is it? What options do they have? And so going through that and
But
discussing it.
if it's a simple lift of an existing home in the same footprint, it should go through pretty quickly.
So I looked at
Ideally.
one today, and it took me start, stop, and I haven't drafted my comments yet, but I easily spent like about four more hours on it. The reason is because you may have 7 pages, and 6 of those 7 pages are right, but there's a note on one of those pages that contradicts, a previous page. So if you look at the general conditions and you're reading through those in a plan set, for instance, the one I see all the time is they talk about shallow foundations. Well, we don't allow shallow foundations. I know if I don't go remove that comment or put something on there, based on experience, the recipe that gets handed off to the field, you and I may talk to ad nauseam about it. I may talk to the owner, the designer, but when it hits the field, those conversations and that intention isn't always being met. I have to make sure the plans do not have any of those contradictions in it. So to your point, we're looking at, okay, the stairway access, are you adding it on the exterior? If so, did you really allow enough room? Is it going to be in the setback? Or are you adding it in the middle of the slab? If you're doing that, how are you cutting the slab, reinforcing that area, and how are the stairs going up into that? Windows, doors, I'm looking for the Florida product approvals. If you're coming in with perimeter walls, do they need to be breakaway? Do you have the vents? If they do need to be breakaway, I need to make sure now where your HVAC is and all your components that are running from that, none of that's being attached to the breakaway walls. So you start going through this whole thing. It seems like it's easy because they're elevating it in place, but they do rotate them too. So we have had an issue where that's happened as well. So we have to look at all those components. But today, like I said, it was easily right at 4 hours. I haven't typed up my comments yet, but it was going through and looking at each one, again, based on the experience that we've had from, making sure that they include the gutters in there and, any of the drainage concerns, because they are going in and, shoveling out all that soil, so it has to go somewhere, making sure the slab is frangible, and just those things do eat up a lot of time when you start kind of breaking them down, even though it's raising in the existing footprint.
And then on top of Marcy's review, then you'll have the building review. So with these elevated homes, single-family homes, you have 2 separate review that you're looking at something somewhat different at the Florida Building Code that our
I
building
mean,
officials
my
reviewing.
questions are designed geared to when a resident is asking, why would it take 4 to 6 weeks? I'm going to elevate my home. It's an existing home. I'm going to put it up on columns. So it's important to get the information out to anyone that might be listening, but for us to understand, because they're coming to us and asking these questions, and they just need to have a better grasp
I'm
of
reviewing your.
where you are, and,
Yeah.
and, the first thing they're going to say are, why don't you hire more reviewers? Why
Still
didn't this-
requires deep foundation design. All that stuff still has to be in there and has to be reviewed. And I know building does a lot of it, but also if we're looking at it and we catch it, and I know we go ahead and comment on it. So we're commenting on everything from the Florida Building Code to our LDRs. So I am looking at your frangible slam. I am looking for isolated joints around your columns and making sure you're not attaching anything to it, making sure your primary stairs of ingress, egress, I see this all the time, they're attached to the breakaway walls. You can't do that. So there's things like that that come into play. It seems like it's easy, but once you start accessing it, dealing with the utilities and all that other stuff, it mounts up.
And I would imagine new construction's a longer period than 4 to 6.
You're starting with a clean slate there, right? So then you can look at it brings different challenges into it, but the 4 to 6 weeks is still a good time for the new homes as well. Having done, like I said, the elevations before, we're pretty good at actually, once we look at them, it's being able to get the undivided time sometimes to sit down and get into those plans and not be interrupted. Just the day-to-day stuff is really what kind of plays into some of the time constraints. It's the dedicated time and the quiet space and that kind of comes into play as well.
So we're hoping that taking our permit reviewers out of those open hours, that'll give a little bit more time of dedicated time to review those permits.
Okay. I think I beat up plenty of time. Thank you so much.
Oh, that's right, I forgot. Comments?
Just a quick question. This was brought up last time. So when you review the plans, do you notify the residents of comments, or how do you notify them?
So through MGO, we do our plan review comments and we send a letter out. And that letter is sent to, so when you're set up your permit application, if you're the contractor, and you come in and you set up whoever, who needs to be notified of the comments, that's who will be notified. So we have started getting a little more aggressive about making the contractor, because what they'll do is when they get to the homeowner section, they just input their information again. So the homeowner sometimes is left in the dark on the back and forth. So we are getting more aggressive about having the contractor actually add the homeowner's information such that the homeowner is also included in the back and forth and they see the comments. Because that's the biggest thing is the contractor isn't always, they're doing a lot of other projects as well. So we do try to keep the homeowners in. The homeowners, if they come in, I will manually add them to their permit and check them to get those notifications. So we can do that.
And when the permit's issued, do you do the same thing, right? Just notify them that the permit's been issued, now you can start construction.
All
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
notifications. If we have your email address as the owner, we always will click the applicant, contractor, and the owner.
Thank you.
Eddie?
No, I think everything's been covered. Thank you guys very much for your excellent work. Keep it up. Thank you.
So I'd like to give, today was the Big C meeting, and it was very, very informative. I'd like to share with the commission, and moving forward, I'm going to ask the city manager on the Wednesdays when we have the Big C meeting to have it an agenda item so that we can discuss, or I can let you know what went on. But today, it was very informative because Barry Burton from the county was there, the county administrator. And he talked to us about the state of a lot of things that are going on with the county. So I just want to touch on a few of the items. One of the things that he talked about, was the debris removal contractors that walked away and did not do debris removal because they found someplace else that they could do it and get more money. So the county is currently working on new contracts going out to bid to be able to have those pricings in place, those contracts, and they are very much wanting us as the municipalities to participate in that, as well as they are going to be bidding out for a company like Tidal Basin to be able to help. Robin will get notified of that, and they're going to share the bid that they're doing, but it's looking forward to, it probably won't work for this hurricane season. If we were to need it, it wouldn't be completed, but for next year. And then one of the things that he also talked about, and I had the opportunity to talk to Marcy and Jenny about before the meeting, is the county uses a program called Ocella, which is similar to our MGO. So they're planning, everything is online like we do, you load everything online. They outsource to a couple of different companies, and they started it back in COVID. We're doing something similar with Al and with Kathy's company in using outside entities. One of the things that he talked about as a challenge is that every municipality has different rules and different regulations, ordinances. So when you, as they stated earlier, you have that learning curve challenge, right? So I think we're really headed for us in the right direction with what staff has made the decision to make, and that's to add people who know our ordinances and our codes. One of the challenges that Barry shared was when you start doing things across the county, every city has a different code and ordinances. For example, the 50% rule. We're 50%, the county's 49. Some place, city of St. Pete was 49. So the county is looking to become more in line with everyone at 50%. He also shared that the CBDGR plan, which is the money through HUD, got submitted today. They submitted their proposal today. He's going to share that with the Big C Commission, or the Big C Council. And when I get that, I will share it with Robin so that he can share it with all of us. What I found was interesting is that in after the meeting, talking more about the money that they're getting and where that money can go and be dispersed. There is money that is in what they're receiving or that they've submitted for. that would be to help people elevate their homes. So I think it'll be interesting to read what they've presented to be able to do with that money for approval. And then he also shared with us that, and he had just found this out, that the Pinellas County staff is working on a new FEMA estimator tool. They're going to reach out to the municipalities to get input on that estimator tool for something that would be easier, and then submit it to FEMA for approval, where everybody, instead of everybody working on different things, to get all of the municipalities in the county to come together to come up with something more standardized that would be simpler. He also is going to share the county's after-action report with us, which I think will be really important to see, really nice to see. And I'd like to see us do our own after-action report. I think the fire department does after-action reports. I think it's a great idea. And I think that was the most of it. I asked him if he would share everything he talked about today that they had data-wise, so that we could share it with our commissions and try to be more involved and more supporting of the county and what they're doing to try to work with all of the cities. And then again, all of the cities to work with each other. That's what the Big C is all about. And it's important that we collaborate together to be better. When I went to Treasure Island today, the conversation that I had there was so informative. I shared, they do a workshop 3 days a week where they have residents come in to learn about their permitting process. So I'm going to go Monday just to see what it is they do. And she shared with me that they get residents from Madeira Beach, from St. Pete Beach, from all the different municipalities. And when they come in to take this workshop class, she says to them, our ordinances are not the same as yours. The way we do it's not the way you do it, because it's different. We have different requirements, different. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I will be looking forward to sharing all of that on Monday to see if maybe there's an opportunity for us to do something else that would help the residents better understand. And in closing, I did have a resident reach out to me yesterday, and he came in yesterday. He left very unhappy. He came back today, and when he finished with staff, he sent me a text message thanking staff for being so helpful and for what they did, and he was very appreciative. So I try to share those things. Marcy and Jenny know whenever a resident gives a compliment, because they get a lot of not compliments. But one of the greatest things we did post-storm was the in-person permitting. It really, if somebody comes in, they tip, even if they're maybe cranky when they get here because they're frustrated at the process and the length and all of that, they leave happy. So it's a great service. Anyhow, I wanted to share that so that the commission would know. So next on the agenda is post-hurricane update, recovery, rebuild, permitting, FEMA, and FDM. Is that you, Robin?
Well, usually between all of us. Just wanted, Mayor, to what you just stated regarding the county's community development block grant recovery. There is a website, I'll forward that to all of you. We'll put it on our website as well, that has a significant amount of information, including the plan that the county submitted. So we'll have that available. Just to give you, as we do it at each one of our workshops, where we are regarding everything post-storm. We just talked quite a bit of it. I just did want to mention the Elevate Florida, since that was included in the discussion. Per the Florida Division of Emergency Management, they do have online an Elevate Florida dashboard. And per that dashboard, there are 260 applications with Madeira Beach, identified as from Madeira Beach, 170 for structure elevation, 83 for mitigation and reconstruction, 6 wind management, and 1 acquisition demolition. So 260 that have been submitted for Elevate Florida, that program. As Marcy and Jenny explained, we just continue in the packet is information on building permit data, including number of inspections. You did ask the number, this is last week's, the 21st of May data. Our Facebook page and online have the May 28th data, but just from last week, since it's up on the screen, we did have 19 elevating structure applications, 5 waiting for revisions, 22 new residential home applications, 11 waiting for revisions. So again, our goal from the very beginning was to get residents back into their homes. We are up over over 600 interior remodel applications and permits that have been issued. Overall, we have received over 2,600 permits. Permit applications we have processed, issued, over 1,700 residential and over 600 commercial building permits. So again, that continues to be the great work done by all of the staff. I will add to the discussion, if any residents continue, and lately, as I think I said at the last workshop, a lot more property owners, they don't, this is not their primary residence. However, they feel very relieved. They can come in and get answers to their questions, whether we have the open in-person hours or not. We've been doing that for some time, for several months. We are finding several of the individuals that do come in that seem to have a little bit less knowledge than our year-round residents. We're trying to obviously give them the information that they need, encouraging them to come back during in-person, or if we do have some staff available, we do then try to get their questions answered. So we will continue to do that every day that we are open. We do have this Saturday, May the 31st, beginning at 10 a.m., our annual Hurricane Expo. We've kind of paired it with the start of sea turtles nesting season, which began on May 1st. So we are going to have presentations, discussions on preparing, planning, and pre-storm and post-storm, and what we do every year to encourage people to take it as seriously as you can. Again, we reiterate, we remind, make sure you're prepared, have all your documentation, make sure you do have a plan what you're going to do, and again, particularly, hopefully we do not have one, but at the time an evacuation order is issued by the county. Have a plan where you're going to go. We are reminding people they can come and obtain their re-entry pass to be able to come back onto the island. Given, similar to the last year, there were restrictions as to who could come back on the island once the island was reopened by the county. And to reiterate again, I do not have the authority to close access to Madeira Beach or to reopen. The county has that, they provide that information. I did have quite a few residents ask, well, why couldn't you just reopen the bridge? It would be very difficult if Madeira Beach, Treasure Island, and Indian Rocks opened their bridges, but Clearwater did not, or St. Pete Beach would not. So it's a county-wide process to control access back out to the barrier islands. So we, again, remind folks, we do encourage everybody, please come out Saturday. We'll have lots of vendors, lots of information. We'll be giving out the hurricane guides that the county provided to us. We do have probably a couple thousand here in our lobby and in this room, or at least hundreds of them. And again, just to remind people of the importance of, have a plan, start preparing, have a plan, and we will continue to do everything that we have through now. And I don't know if Marcy or Jenny, you have anything to add?
I think we covered most in the last item. Marcy, did you have anything else to add?
No, I figure we're good.
I do, just a couple of other things. We, actually, Commissioner McGean and I did attend a meeting with, that was provided by the Florida Division of Emergency Management last week. And Mr. Kevin Guthrie provided a lot of information as well as some of his staff. We did, one of the interesting, I think, takeaways from that presentation, mainly for elected officials, we do have, they provided a very good guide for post-storm materials, services, everything from equipment, personnel, to bathroom, restroom trailers, shower trailers, laundry trailers, a very good guide on how to make those requests. So we have that guide. We have staff that is going to be trained on making those requests through the web emergency operations kind of process to make those requests that we hopefully we won't have to make this year. The other interesting takeaway was the future of emergency management, specifically funding. And while there's a lot happening at every level of government, city, county, state, and federal, the federal government does control quite a bit in terms of funding. The federal government provides the majority of funding to the state that is provided for emergency, even pre, but mostly post, and then directly through FEMA for public assistance, individual assistance. It is believed that in the future, the reimbursement to local governments may be altered. And the altering may be is that it may go to a significant change where cities or counties would only be reimbursed 50% of expenses post-storms. That has not happened yet, but something that was mentioned that could be happening into the future. So
Isn't that from the federal government, and then the
Yes.
state would reimburse you 50% also?
yes.
So you'd end up with 100%
Hope-
reimbursement. It would just come from two different places.
Hopefully that's what would happen.
Yeah.
But it kind of made it sounded a little bit that they were still trying to figure out significant details. But the idea, the goal is to be 100% reimbursed. They're going to adjust what's called the FROC funding, or the calculation obligation, the process where we were provided an advance for our storm debris costs, our debris removal. So we're actively continue to participate in that, and we hope to going into the future. We hope that still continues, because that helped out quite a bit.
Is there an agenda for the Hurricane Expo for who the speakers are and?
Believe so. That was finalized, I believe, this week. We will publish that by tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, questions?
Well, I remember last year, the Hurricane Expo was a big success. We brought in a lot of people. There was a lot of people here last year. I'm just saying that we have to make sure we have plenty of room for chairs, tables, and I think we ran out last year, didn't we?
It was pretty good. I'm expecting this year will probably be even more people.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, we will be in this room and in the city center room and the veranda.
Oh,
Comments? No comments? Next on the agenda is Fire Emergency Operations Plan Amendment for 2025 through 2028, Resolution 2025-05.
So Mayor and Commission, every year we take a look at our emergency operations plan, and staff kind of goes through each department, make any changes, what needs to be done. I do one of our fire department through our chief and his staff really can take the lead on getting this updated every year. So we've made some, I mean, not really no significant changes. Where what we are looking at going forward are getting more staff the access to be able to make requests through the county and to FDEM as well. This, I think, Chief, I think that.
The only change that I would ask that we put in there versus what you have presented to you in the other changes is under fire, we actually have the address for Calvary Church as the alternate EOC. Myself and Megan Wepfer, we have been trying to get in touch with them. They've been non-responsive. We actually entered into an agreement that Attorney Trask presented to the board that was approved. And I want to take the address out and put generic verbiage that an alternate EOC will be based through whatever agreement we have on the mainland. But other than that, what you have presented to you should remain the same.
Those changes have already been added. They're in this version of it.
Oh, okay.
And again, the alternate EOC, that was the very first time that we've ever had to utilize that, as far as I know, the history of the fire department. Rodden, of course, was there, PCSO deputies.
Comments?
I would recommend we go with the recommendation of the staff and Chief Belk.
Does the city currently have an agreement with the Cambria Hotel?
We do. To use their parking garage for city staff to park their vehicles there, and that just in case it's flooded, they can't get through debris, but they're able to come in or need to come in for work. We do have an agreement with them. We have not used it as far as I know. Have you? Megan has not used it either. We had an agreement with the city of Seminole, and we would bring everything over there, but then when we had the alternate EOC, we just brought everything from the city to one location, including staff.
Yeah.
Do the taller, I guess if you never used it, the taller vehicles fit in there? You know, you have a lot of trucks that are pretty tall.
Yeah, like no staff, fire department staff vehicles would fit. Obviously, the apparatus would not and everything else, but Public Works would, parking, building department, most of their vehicles would.
Personal vehicles and things like that.
And personal
yeah.
vehicles as well.
Great. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Chief.
Comments?
No comment.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Next on the agenda is Public Works, ITB number 25-07, Military Court of Honor discussion and approval.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Sorry, I thought that was going to go a lot longer than that.
I just
wasn't
want to make note that Public Works is not last on the agenda today.
We are not.
Thanks, somebody.
Sorry, Jay. So what I bring before you this evening is the results of the invitation to bid for the Military Court of Honor. What you have in your packet is the submittal from Vericon, also doing business as Vera Contractors. They submitted a bid per the plans that you all had seen and given the approval to proceed for the bids. And that project did come in under budget. The current budget that we have this fiscal year is $250,000, and the project came in at $225,823.02. That is with the contingency as well in the event something goes wrong in the field, which unfortunately happens to happen. So with that being said, it's a pretty straightforward project. We did vet this contractor. We have checked reviews, all have been outstanding. And we would like to proceed to get this project kicked off and completed within this fiscal year is our hope.
I definitely appreciate your hard work as far as everything you went out for the Court of Honor. And I think that we should go ahead with this and get this going as soon as possible. So, definitely, thank you.
When do you think we'll put a shovel in the ground?
Realistically, the bid will it will come back to you for final approval on June 11th. We will give the notice to proceed right thereafter. We have a pre-construction meeting already set for next week. So my plan is, once we give that notice to proceed, we are starting within the next few weeks. There are items within that do have to be tested for, I believe, a 30-day period before they can actually be installed, to ensure that they're gonna be what we want and the product's gonna hold up. So that may take it a little bit longer, but I'm hoping we will definitely be started by beginning of July.
Do you think we'll have a groundbreaking or not?
If that would be the pleasure of the board, we can absolutely do
We
that.
can have one if you would like.
I think it'd be a good idea, and ribbon cutting once it's finished.
Sure. Yeah, I can, once we have that pre-construction meeting, we can get their mobilization date and go from there.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Idea.
Yes, move forward with this, is my opinion.
Thank you.
Get her done.
Thank you.
I agree. I have a question, though. How long do you think the construction period is? Once they break ground, do you think it'll?
I don't remember. I have an exact construction date, and I don't remember
That's
exactly
okay.
what that was. But like I said, there are, the way that the concrete is being laid with the shell aggregate and the pebbles, we have to have them test that, and also with the staining of the concrete. So that's 3 different samples that they will have to test 2 by 2 square with a depth, and let it sit for 30 days before we allow the installation. I think it's gonna go fairly quick. I would say within 90 days, I think we will be, and we've already talked about the 9/11 ceremony.
That's what I was wondering about.
So they are fully aware that if it's not finished or completed, that the site will need to be clean and sightly for the memorial. So we've already
Thank
talked
you.
about that.
Thank you. That was coming in under budget. That's amazing.
Yes.
Good
Great
job.
Great
Thank
job.
you.
Next on the agenda is ITB number 25-06, Boca Ciega Street and Beautification Project Discussion and Approval.
And unfortunately, like the last, this one did not come in under budget. This one has come in a bit above budget. But as I mentioned in the agenda item, the memo, that we are working to reduce those costs. So this is exactly as you all had seen in the plans, with the exception of changing out a few of the plants. Allie in my office has worked really hard with our nursery that we use a lot. We've gotten the plant costs down from $14,950 to $2,358, but I'm still waiting on the costs for the installation from the contractor. They were supposed to get that back to me before today, but they have not. I'm expecting the costs for each of those plants to be in the range of $25 to $50 per plant. And I'm not sure if they're going to base that on the size or if it's going to just be a quantity. So I have made it very clear to her that we need to get this cost down. So we are definitely working on that, but I would like to mention that in this, there is a 10% contingency cost. So with that budget price, there's $16,114.92. That is just strictly for contingency. So that's not saying that we're gonna spend those dollars, but where we're looking to save, and I'll have more of that information for you at the regular meeting, and we can provide that prior to, would be with the installation of the furniture. I can take that out of the budget and I can have our staff do that. So that would be another $1,000 savings that we could do. But we are definitely going to cut that cost and ensure that it does come within budget.
Comments?
Good job.
Thank you.
Been working on it a long time. Good job.
I just,
Yes.
the plants, are we using the plants that were recommended by the design? That we, you said you're
I'm-
gonna, now, so you're gonna buy the plant, well, yeah, you, but.
Correct. If I'm gonna be completely frank, I did not like the plants that they had put in the design. I had already changed those a few times and they kept not correcting that in the plans. We will stick with the same planting that we have, the bottle palms that are really cute, the agaves that have held up during the storms and all are doing so well. That's what we're gonna stick with. We know that it made it. We know that it worked. We know that they're thriving still and they were under 4 feet of water.
So your staff will work with these plants and put them where they were in the plan?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, they'll plant them. I'm sorry. They're going to
sorry.
plant them.
You-
We are
We're
purchasing
just
them.
purchasing them, they're gonna plant them? Okay.
Correct, because we can, some of the prices charging $200 when I can get the plant for 25.
Well, bring it down as much as you can, and I say,
will.
obviously, I think it's a great project. We should be moving forward with it.
We will get it within budget, whatever
you.
we have to do.
Yes, thank you.
I think it's great. I think a lot of residents will be really happy when it's completed. So,
I agree. It
next
will-
on the agenda is RFI number 25-09, Engineering Consultant and Design Services Discussion and Approval.
This is much like the engineering RFI that we placed out in 2023, I believe. This is to add engineers to our range of projects and be able to add to that group. Currently, right now, I believe we have 8 or 9, and I should have gotten that number more accurate. Those contracts are still in place. These are just, we've had other engineering firms reach out to us and would like to be on that list, and because they didn't meet within that criteria, they have not. This just saves us time whenever we have a project, and can just broaden that range, give us a few other things that we don't have on that list. I was informed today that there is, Mr. Trask is going to be looking over the RFI to ensure that we are within our, I don't recall what it was called.
We just need to make sure that it's in compliance with state statute, the competitive, this, what we call the CCNA, Competitive Consultants Negotiation Act. I want to make sure that it complies with all of that. So it'll come back to you in such a way that it will be approvable.
I apologize for that. We will make sure that it is within all of the guidelines. This was myself, Jenny, and Marcy working on this. I'm here if you have any questions.
Comments, questions?
No questions, move forward.
I was starting to review all the whole package.
I'm sorry.
Amazing.
I didn't want to leave anything out.
A lot of work
And he killed a tree.
just on that section.
I felt really horrible when I included all of those in that packet.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Comments?
Question, what would be the limit of services cost per project?
This is not based on cost. This is based on qualifications of the firm. They can include their cost, but that is not what it's based on. It's based on what they can do in-house, what they have access to, their subcontractors, the project base. It's not set for anything in particular. It's simply just allowing us to have that list of contracts with their disciplines and being able to have them access to them whenever we have a project that is more fitting for that firm.
And then the cost per project will come before this board and will be approved.
If the cost is over the $30,000, it would come before the board for approval.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Megan.
You're very
Good
welcome.
job.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Recreation Fitness Center.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. It's been a while since we talked about the fitness centers. I figured I'd bring it back again. After the storm, the rec staff utilized the fitness center as our offices for the time that we were displaced from the rec center. We have since vacated that area. We've not opened it back up to the public yet. We were unsure as to with other departments being displaced, what the plan exactly was going to be. So now we've come to a point where I think they've gotten comfortable in this space and other spaces that we can open it back up. In that time, I've had maybe a dozen people reach out as far as the usage of the gym. So looking to reopen that, we were also looking prior to the storm to upgrade some of the equipment. Had discussed bikes, treadmill, rowers, stuff like that, which is why I attached the quote from Averon that at the time when I had bid those out before the storm was the most affordable quote. And after the storm and with everything politically that's going on, it is almost doubled in price. So even the quote that I provided that I most recently got from them would require a bid beyond, because it's over $30,000 to do that. So, excuse me. With reopening it, I was seeking direction from you all as interest in, do you want us to bid out, maybe budget some stuff to improve the equipment in the fitness center for more usage, or kind of move ahead as status quo? As far as everything else, the technology is there to get us in and out, the card systems, the rec software that we have, everything else is in place. We do have an annual or quarterly maintenance company that comes in, and the reason that Averon quote was included is it is the one that they service the best, so it would be included in the quarterly service. And then, basically just keeping wipes and keeping it clean. It's already included in our cleaning contract. So it's ready to open back up and ready to go. We just need to decide as far as what the thought process is on existing equipment versus future equipment and so forth. And additionally, the whole another thing, being as we are the only gym on the beach at the moment, as far as I'm concerned or aware, if we want to open that up a step further to non-residents with a fee structure, which is another thing that we could look into and expand. Obviously, our priority would be to open it back up to the residents, though. So,
Comments?
Jay, does your budget pay for this? What budget does this come out of?
Recreation, the general fund.
Right. And it says we have 190 as of last month, or this month, distributed, people that actually requested to have a card to enter. Based on that, I think we should continue to offer it. I don't know that I don't know how I feel about offering it to people outside until we had a good run at seeing how it goes with just our residents. Because did we even have it open for a full year before the hurricane hit?
might have been right at that
Right
benchmark.
at it, pretty close.
Yeah.
I just feel like we need to give it a good run of using it. And of course, if we're gonna do that, we need to have quality equipment. What is the miscellaneous machines commercial membership 5 years? What is that on the?
So each one of those rowers, and basically the technology's evolved from what we have to what a lot of the fitness centers have now. Any of the bikes or rowers, it has programs built into it where you as a user of the gym could go in and you actually create an account and it tracks your workouts. And
yeah,
I think it would, if we get to that point, it would allow us to program things better. Maybe we could institute some programs that, there's some, a rewards program for people that are participating. It's basically some fitness initiatives that we could increase the usage with.
Yeah, those items, great, and if we can have more, like that Smith machine in there is really almost dangerous, I think. The one on the rails, the Smith machine, that's super outdated, and that was outdated a long time ago. I'd like to look at updating that. The bench is good. There's a lot of other things that are just fine. So based on the fact that I know our fire department uses that space, we have 190 people with cards, I think we should, if you're asking for direction, I think we should move forward to give it back to our residents and get them some good equipment.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a big proponent of the gym opening up, or the residents, obviously. It seemed to have caught on. I know a lot of people before the hurricane that was using it. I'm open to non-residents at a fee using it, if that could maybe cover the cost of certain pieces of equipment. But I think it's a great idea. I think we should keep it going.
Comment?
I agree.
I've been opposed to it from the beginning. I knew this was going to be the next thing. You know, we were opening it up to the residents. There wasn't going to be any additional cost. We were talking about, okay, the cost of the card keys. I don't know what that cost is. And I mentioned then, well, the next thing is, well, no one's going to be happy with the equipment that's there, so we're going to have to buy new equipment for the few that use it. So you're saying this cost it's going to be higher than this now, so.
No, that was just, this is just one example. I mean,
Yeah, so
I was just giving
whatever.
you
I'm
guys
just
an
saying
idea.
Tens of thousands of dollars
Right.
for new equipment, and then we still have the liability piece. If somebody gets hurt, I'm just fundamentally against it. I don't think, you know, at $10 a month, you can go to the local gym and have access to all this stuff. I don't know that the city needs to be in the business of having a fitness center, but that's just me.
So you probably know, I don't disagree with Vice Mayor Kerr. I voted against opening the gym up to the public because I felt like at the time, and I still feel like, it was paid for by the fire department. They got the grant to get the equipment. That equipment that is in there is geared towards the fire department, people who know how to use real weights, and it's a different type of equipment. That being said, I'm curious to understand if there were 98 cards issued through January 2024, and there's 190 now, what has been now I know no one's used it really since September, although some people still came in. You told me one day while you guys were in there, or you all were in there. So how many people are really using it?
Well, and that's, the tough part too, is that 190 was before the storm. I can't, without cross-checking every name, I don't even know that they all still reside here.
Ah,
That was pre-storm, 190 cards. I mean, there's some people that we see that have either attempted to go into the gym or, and I'm able to look, you know, with the software we have, I can look at the last, I'll have to look at the dates on it, but I'm able to, because essentially all I did while we were in there was turn the cards off. They still have them. I can turn them on right now. And I can look at who has attempted to scan them since the storm, and it'll give me a number. I can run a report on that. But again, that 190 distributed was just to kind of give you an idea. Over the course of a year and a half, we had less than 100 extra people.
so that makes me think, okay, so if you issue a card and there's 190 cards out there, you're not sure if those people still live here. How do you track whether or not I still live in the city? I have a card. How do you know if I moved? What's the checks and balances on that?
Well, and that part of that is we do an annual waiver.
Okay.
So we see that information, but as far as like, it's tough. I mean, there could be a couple months of unknowns, but it's a little tough thing to track.
So if
That's
that
why
was
it's free.
190 cards as of May 15th, whenever they got their card, 1 year from that date, their card gets turned off automatically?
That's the way it's set
Because-
up in our software to manage.
Because
We have
they'd
to
have to-
manually do that right
Yeah.
now, but that's the way it's set up.
So if
to
you did that,
be
I
aware
wonder
of it.
how many cards you'd have active.
Well, from the issue date, it'd be
That's-
probably half if I had
Right.
to guess, but yeah. I mean, and essentially, one of those things that we can do with this, since they're all off,
Yep.
it's hey, you want to rejoin the fitness center, stop by the rec center, we'll reactivate your card. And I can do that one by one. That's not a huge lift. And that reassures us that I'm not too concerned that the people that don't live here are going to make their way out here to do that, but it's something that we will pay attention to.
So I think it'd be interesting to know how many people would come in to get their card reactivated before you go to all of the effort to do a bid process and everything. I mean, I love that you came with it. I mean, and it would be cool to have, because those are essentially Pelotons.
Mhm.
That'd be a cool thing to have, but given where we are, Is there any, have you seen any place that there would be a grant that would be available or funding for fitness?
Most of the grants that I've seen are for lower income communities.
Okay,
There are some out there that we can still continue to look at. And then, Mr. Curtis, to speak on your point, I have had one or two people that have called that said, look, I just want to get back in there. We don't need the fancy equipment. We don't need we like what we had. We just like the ease of use and access. So we're kind of in the middle, and that's, we can feel it out and see as far as, okay, who returns, who joins. We still don't know what percentage of the residents actually have returned to the island yet too, so.
all the equipment that currently is in there works, it's just dated.
Correct. Yes, it's been, it's maintained quarterly, and
Yeah.
that's just a safety thing in general for, it's, I think it's $150 a month or every quarter, and then they fix what they need to fix based on that. So it's,
So I would be interested, my personal view would be turn it back on, advertise that it's open again, see how many people come in to get their cards turned back on. And if there is a great interest, then let's have another conversation.
Sure.
That would be my personal view on that. Instead of going, like I said, to all the process, spending over $30,000 on new equipment when you have 10 people who are showing up. And I'm not saying those 10 people aren't worth $30,000, but that's a different conversation.
well, and it was an easier discussion to bring to y'all
Yeah,
when it was half that price.
Right.
I'm not comfortable with that number either, because again, if it's not going to get used, there's no purpose.
Mayor, if I could just clarify one thing. The equipment that's in there isn't, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, is not firefighter equipment. I mean, there are a couple of apparatus in there. It looks like there's some steps or something you might want to be climbing a wall or something, but there's a Smith machine, there's a bench press, there's some rowing, there's cable pulleys, there's a treadmill, dumbbells, barbells. Those are standard weightlifting equipment. Now, I would say it's a gym designed for people who know how to lift weights.
correct. That
That
was my
I would
point.
agree with.
That was my point.
Is that about right? It's not firefighter specific, but they use it.
Firefighter specific, but it is geared towards
Right.
individuals that already know
How to work out. Right. So I just want to say again, let's not base our decision on right now. Our population is in half. 10 people is a larger percentage than it was last year.
That is correct. But I think at this point, spending over $30,000 on equipment, when the equipment's not broken and nobody's using it, let's at least see who's going to use it. Is it going to come back?
Well, how about we open it, let the
That's what
public
I
know,
said.
and then
Yes.
come back and say, all right,
Bring you the
there's
data.
people using it, let's talk again about.
that
And
would-
maybe in the meantime, you can find some
was my
cheaper stuff.
That
Well,
was
and
my
that's-
recommendation, was to
Okay.
open it,
I'd
see
be
the
okay with
interest.
that.
Yeah,
I'd be
and
okay with
then
that, yeah.
we'll talk again.
Yeah, and not to, hit the buzzword, but this may be an opportunity I have to fully discuss with planning and development, but this might be a use for those impact fees that we've been talking about. I have to look further into it, but it's one of those things where we increase services, so that may be an opportunity. If we're increasing a service that's available to the residents through the recreation impact fees, we
Oh.
might be able to.
Oh, there you go.
Right. So.
I mean, pave a road through the gym and we'll just buy the equipment.
It's making more people mobile. There we go. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Do you have any other comments? It is 9:10. We are adjourned.